Hello guys, this is Dark Fox Sage 2 and we are back with our new fanfic, which is What If Naruto Found His Love in Hidden Cloud Village Part 2. And if you enjoy this fanfic, then please press the like button and please subscribe to the channel. It motivates me to upload more fanfic like these for you all. Now let's start the fanfiction. Soon the wait was over and Iruka entered the room along with Mizuki. After silencing the class, Iruka said, "We will be having 2 more students joining us for the test today. Before any one of you complains about unfairness, they were trained outside the village and have returned to take part in the exams." His announcement caused mixed reactions, groans from the heirs, and looks of curiosity from the civilians. Naruto though kept an impassive face on. Iruka motioned towards the door and 2 red-headed girls with cute round faces entered the room and respectively said, "Hello, my name is Mito, Narumi Uzumaki, pleased to meet you." Silence followed in the room. Naruto, however, being the genius he is, connected the dots and understood that they were his sisters. He then remembered what his father had asked him to and vowed that he would protect. Soon, however, the whole class burst out laughing and Kiba shouted, "Ha ha 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 ha, who would have thought that our new classmates would be a pair of tomatoes?" Mito looked indignant at the comparison whereas Narumi looked downcast. However, all laughing ceased to be when the room was filled with a very potent killing intent. Everyone, including the teachers and the new girls, were finding it hard to breathe. After a moment Naruto spoke, his voice eerily calm, "If you're done making a fool out of yourself, I would advise you to stop harassing our new classmates. Or else," said Naruto, emphasizing on else with a fresh burst of even greater killing intent, making all of his classmates gulp in fear before nodding. Naruto then stopped emitting his ki and gave Narumi and Mito a warm smile before saying, "Welcome to Konoha, I'll hope to get along with you as well." Both girls dumbly nodded and moved to sit on the seats behind Naruto, both of them having different sets of thoughts. Naruto-Nisan is so cool. We are only able to produce that much ki in our tailed states, thought Narumi. He stood up for us. Even though he could have hated us. I hope he forgives us after we talk, thought Mito. Thank you for that, Naruto. So class, let's begin our final exams. I hope all of you pass, said Iruka as he and Mizuki starts distributing the question paper. Upon looking at his paper, Naruto sighed and thought, as I expected. They'd give me questions that even some elite shunins would be hard-pressed to answer them. Oh well, let's see what I can do. I am only aiming for the middle seat. After an hour, Iruka stopped the test and collected the papers before sending them for marking. He then motioned the class to follow him for their target practice. They were to throw 10 shurikens and 10 kunai to practice dummies. The passing marks were 4/10 for shurikens and 6/10 for kunai. Naruto though decided that he would go all out for this test. There was no way he was going to underplay his shuriken jutsu. It was then that Iruka started calling out names. Most of the civilian kids failed except for a pink-haired girl, Sakura Haruno. The remainder of the heirs, including those from Naruto's group, were a different story. Kiba, Sayuri, Hinata all got 9/10 in both kunai and shurikens and all 3 wore smug faces. Mito and Narumi both had scored 8/10 in both of the categories. Aizen had 7/10 in shurikens and 8/10 in kunai. Yakumo and Shino both had the same. The lowest among the heirs were Ino Shikamaru and Choji, who had gotten barely enough to pass. Naruto Uzumaki, called Iruka. As Naruto made his way to the positioning line, Sayuri smirked and said, "Try beating our score, Dobi." Naruto paid her no mind, which caused her to frown and then return to her brooding. She had started brooding ever since Shisui Uchiha had murdered his whole clan, leaving only Itachi, who later killed him, Makoto, and Sayuri. She was brooding because she was the one who wanted to kill Shisui and now had made it her life's goal to beat her brother and become clan head. Standing on the line, Naruto looked at Iruka and said, "Sensei, I will be throwing both my shuriken and kunai together. Also, I will be using one of each for all 10 targets." Everyone's eyes widened at the claim, but no one voiced the surprise because the previous pulse of killing intent was still fresh in their minds. Iruka looked on for a few moments before slowly nodding. Naruto lazily took out a kunai and a shuriken before lazy flicking them both at the same time with a twitch of his wrist. He then made a one-handed ram sign which caused both the projectiles to multiply by 10 and then go on to hit all 20 targets. This caused the whole class to drop their jaws, who would have expected an average student to be so skilled in shuriken jutsu. As he was walking back to his seat, he looked and subtly smirked at Sayuri, Kiba and Hinata, causing all three of them to seethe at him. Hinata then shouted, "How dare you mock us, you peasant, we are above you. In terms of clan and status maybe, in terms of skill definitely not. Also why don't you put your skill where your mouth is?" Naruto mockingly replied before returning to his seat. His friends excitedly congratulated him and Narumi and Mito smiled at him, which he returned in kind, causing both of them to blush a little. Though Narumi's blush was much more noticeable. Soon after there were taijutsu matches. Narumi and Mito both tied, same for Shikamaru and Choji, both of who quit because they didn't want to fight each other. Hinata and Sayuri both beat random civilians. Ino and Sakura tied after a styleless cat fight-like brawl. Shino, Aizen, Yakumo all beat their civilian opponents almost flawlessly, passing with flying colors. Next in the final match was Kiba versus Naruto. "So Dobi, are you ready to give up? If you grovel and beg for mercy, I will finish you painlessly," Kiba said in a smug voice. Naruto just looked at him blankly before saying, "You said something," causing everyone to face fault and Kiba to shake in fury. Whereas in the Hokage office, where all available Jonin senseis were watching, a silver-haired masked Jonin wiped of an imaginary tear and said, "They grow up so fast." Whereas another wearing a green spandex with gigantic eyebrows shouted about the young boy's flames of youth have been corrupted and need to be saved. To which the silver-haired Jonin said, "You say something, guy." It caused the green Jonin to cry anime tears at his eternal rival's hip-like attitude. Back to the fight, Kiba rushed in as soon as the fight was signaled to start. Naruto, however, just stood in his starting spot, not even moving from it. All the while deflecting of Kiba's attacks and getting in occasional blows. Kiba was getting increasingly frustrated as the fight went on. How was he the rookie of the year being outdone by a clan-less orphan? He then shouted as he went in for another attack, "Damn you, why can't I hit you?" As soon as he thrust his fist forward, Naruto caught before in one swift motion, slinging Kiba out of the ring and signaling the end of the match. Naruto then answered, "That was because you were in the eye of the hurricane." Saying that, he turned around and went back to his seat. At the Jonin lounge, everyone was surprised by the blondes, however, two Jonins had very serious looks on their faces. Performing one of the advanced katas of the hummingbird style was no easy feat, specifically the one which was made for multiple opponents. The next stage of ninjutsu went without incident, with nearly everyone passing and becoming ninjas. After collecting his headband, Naruto left. His friends weren't able to follow him because of their families. Whereas Mito and Narumi were stopped by Mizuki for some reason. Kiba was named Rookie of the Year despite having been beaten by Naruto. The Kunoichi of the Year award was shared by both Hinata and Sayuri, mainly because both were way too prideful to admit defeat, and thus avoiding unnecessary problem. As Naruto was walking, Mizuki walked up to him and gave him a smile which immediately made Naruto put his guard up. Mizuki was never kind to him, he was planning a trap here and somehow Naruto was in the middle of it. "I am sorry that we couldn't crown you as the Rookie of the Year. Kiba had better overall grades than you," Mizuki said to Naruto with an apologetic smile. "Men number harm done, I did pass after all," replied Naruto with a lazy wave of his hand. His answer caught Mizuki off guard as he asked, "Meaning you don't care whether you are Rookie of the Year or not because you simply passed the test?" "Exactly. Now if that will be all, I'll be going now, sensei," said Naruto as he shooshined away, leaving Mizuki to seethe as he thought, "The whole plan has failed, well at least we get to kill two of the three demons." We'll just get this one later. Mizuki then smirked before running in the opposite direction. He was unknowingly being followed by Naruto, who after suspected him of trying something evil. Scene break. In a forest near the village, both Mito and Narumi entered a clearing and started waiting for their sensei. Are you sure we should be here, Mito? Narumi nervously asked. Yeah, if we pass the test then we will be crowned as the Kunoichi of the year. Don't you want to make Mum and Nissan proud? Mito asked her twin, who reluctantly nodded. Suddenly a couple of Senbon hit both the girls on the back of their necks and they felt the control on their bodies leaving them. And they fell unconscious. Suddenly 4 people came out of the bushes and started sneering at them. Well, Mizuki, who would have thought your plan would work so well? Now we can rid Konoha of its demons and we will then be seen as heroes, said one of them. I have a better idea, Aoba. How about playing with them for a little while? We are alone and a little release won't hurt anyone, said the third figure of the group. However, before any one of them could even move, 12 chains erupted from the ground and formed a dome-like structure around both the unconscious girls. The 4 men did not have time to react, as 3 of them were hit by multiple shuriken before they could react and fell down on the floor unconscious. The only one left awake was Mizuki, and he frantically looked around before spotting Naruto on one of the branches. What are you doing here, demon? How dare you interrupt your attempt at cleansing Konoha? Naruto didn't answer him and said, Is that enough evidence for you, Weasel-san? As he asked that, an Anbu appeared behind Mizuki and knocked him out. He nodded at Naruto, who created shadow clones and took Mito and Narumi with him, leaving the Anbu to deal with the traitors. Making his way to his apartment, he set both Narumi and Mito on his beds and waited for them to wake up. Knowing the special Uzumaki healing traits, they would be awake after 2 hours at most. And exact to prediction, both girls woke up after 2 hours and frantically looked around before spotting each other. They then slowly got up and cautiously made way outside, trying to find out where were they. Soon they spotted a familiar figure in the form of their brother as he was making some coffee. Good, you are awake. Sit down by the table, the coffee is almost ready, said Naruto with his back still turned. Both girls visibly relaxed and went to sit down. After a few minutes of silence, Mito spoke up and said, Nissan, if you only wanted to talk to us, why did you kidnap us? Naruto burst out laughing at that, causing Mito to grow red with embarrassment. After Naruto stopped laughing, he handed both the girls their coffee before affectionately ruffling their heads and saying, I didn't kidnap you guys. Those were just some bad men who were jealous of you and wanted to harm you. But your Nissan took care of it and brought you to his place. Currently your attackers are being withheld by Anbu. Both the girls connected the dots and understood that had Naruto not appeared when he had, the girls would have lost more than their lives. Both of them looked down, not meeting his eyes. Sensing a depressing aura, he said, Hey, what's with the long faces? You finally meet your brother, you should tell me about your lives and your training. With a look of disbelief, both looked up and saw him smiling before they started regaling their tales of training. As they were talking, Naruto started cooking dinner and soon they were eating. After they had finished talking, Naruto said, I have already informed both the Hokage and Kushina-sama about what happened and they are currently investigating the whole setup. You can stay here for tonight or go to your place, it's up to you. We would like to stay, Nissan, said Narumi with Mito nodding along. Alright then, go take a shower and go to the rooms you got up in. I will lend you some clothes for the night, said as he got up and left. Mom was right, Mito Nissan will save us from trouble, said Narumi. Yeah, she was, but I was thinking if Nissan is saving us, then who will save Nissan? Asked Mito. Leaving this to thought, both took their showers and reached their rooms. Soon, however, they found themselves unable to sleep because of what happened earlier. Both made their way to Naruto's room and knocked on the door before entering. They saw Naruto sitting on his bed reading a book. Seeing them enter, he closed the book and looked at them before asking, scared of closing your eyes in fear of what happened today? Both of them nodded. Sighing, Naruto motioned them to come on his bed. Mito to his left and Narumi to his right. He then said, "Listen, I am here for you. I will protect you. Get some sleep, you have to go home tomorrow." Okay. Both nodded before Narumi asked, "Nissan, will you come with us?" Naruto shook his head and said, "Both of you are seen as heroes by the majority of the population here. Me, on the other hand, am the village pariah. It would be better if we kept our distance. Today was an exception. Now get some sleep." He finished with a tone of finality, causing both the girls to nod and then snuggle into him, drifting to sleep. Naruto sighed to himself. After spending time with his sisters, he wanted nothing more than to be close to them. They had several weird quirks that he found cute. He guessed he'd have to talk to Gigi about this. Smiling, Naruto picked up his book and started reading it again. Elsewhere, looking through a lacrima, were Hiruzen, Jiraiya, Kushina, Itachi, and Kakashi. All of them were smiling at the scene before them. "See, Kushina, I told you he won't hold anything against them," said Jiraiya. "Hi, I am really happy that my babies are finally connecting with each other after my horrid error," said Kushina with a sad smile. "Now we have to deal with who teaches Naruto. The council will make sure that he remains without a team because of the uneven genin numbers. They decide Kakashi to train the Uchiha and Kushina to stay with her daughters. There is no setup that fits with Naruto getting a team," said Hiruzen with a sigh. Before anyone could speak, Itachi coughed and said, "Hokage-sama, I would like to take Naruto as my apprentice. I have fulfilled all the requirements to be a Jonin and I am S-ranked. The council can't force me to do anything because I am the clan head. So there shouldn't be any problems." Hiruzen smiled and said, "You were planning for this, weren't you?" "I may have been or I may not have been," Itachi replied with a very small smile. "Very well then, Itachi, I will leave Naruto to you. Good luck," said Hiruzen as everyone except Kushina left. "I know what you are thinking, Kushina. Give him some time to come into terms with everything. He has always wanted a family and he is internally confused. Give him some time and be there if he ever needs you. Who knows, he goes part the respect and sees you like family again," said Hiruzen, to which Kushina nodded and left. The next day, after dropping both of the girls to the Uzumaki estate, he made his way to his Gigi's office to get his registration photo in. Making his way after having a friendly greeting with the secretary, Naruto entered the office by kicking the door open and shouted, "Gigi, I did it, I passed, and here is the photo for the shinobi registration." Hiruzen chuckled at the blonde. It still surprised him how someone could be so serious when the situation demanded it, and on the next moment be as relaxed and carefree as Andrea Pirlo on the football field. "Okay, Naruto, come here and show me the picture," said the Hiruzen as Naruto handed him the picture. In the pic he tried to pull of one of Minato's signature glares. And he almost got it right as well. Soon, however, the door burst open. A small kid around the age of 5 ran into the room with a wooden kunai, shouting, "I have you now." However, before he could throw the kunai, he tripped over his own scarf and fell down. Looking up from the floor, he pointed at Naruto and shouted, "You tripped me." Naruto gave him a blank look before he burst out laughing. He then said, "Oh, haven't had a laugh like that in a long time. Kid, you tripped on your own scarf. You should stop wearing it until you become older. Don't lie, just admit you did it," the kid shouted. Naruto went up to the kid and picked him up, saying, "Listen up and listen hard, brat. Instead of blaming others, try training to get better. Because as you are now, you won't last a minute against me, let alone someone like Gigi." "Hey, he is my Gigi," Konohamaru shouted. Yeah, I am stronger than you, so he automatically becomes my Gigi," said Naruto with a smirk. After a few minutes, a Jonin wearing sunglasses appeared and shouted, "Let honored grandson go, you fiend." Yeah, I am not even interested in the squirt," said Naruto as he let Konohamaru go before bonking him on the head. Naruto then turned to Hiruzen and said, "Nay Gigi, let's go get some ramen, we haven't eaten together in ages." "Ah, I wish I could go, Naruto, but with the new genin my paperwork is on an all-time high," Hiruzen replied with a sigh. "Well, you could always use shadow clones for the paperwork. Everything they read will be transferred to you. Naruto said in a matter-of-fact tone. Hiruzen stared at Naruto for a few moments before standing up and glomming Naruto. Thank you, thank you, thank you. You just helped me defeat the bane of all cages. Take that Onoki rot in hell while I enjoy. Ahahahahahahahaha. Hiruzen finished with a maniacal laugh, causing Naruto and the others to sweatdrop at the Shinobi no Kami's antics. Elsewhere in the land of rock and the land of the lightning, two cages sneezed at the same time. Damn, Hiruzen, old monkey must have found the answer to paperwork. Damn him. I will ask him during the upcoming Chunin exams, thought both of the cages. Anyways, Gigi, let's go for some ramen tomorrow, said Naruto, to which Hiruzen nodded with a smile. Turning to Konohamaru, he said, see ya later, squirt. Before he disappeared into a leaf shushin. Nay, Gigi, who was that? Konohamaru asked. I think he is arguable the strongest genin in all of the elemental nations. Naruto, said Hiruzen. Looking at Konohamaru's interest, the Jonin said, you shouldn't associate yourself with that fiend-honored grandson. If one is to become a Hokage, he must learn over 1,000 jutsus, and Iebisu the elite trainer can give you a shortcut to becoming a Hokage. He then looked around and saw that Konohamaru was nowhere to be found. He then looked at Hiruzen, who had an amused smile on his face, and asked, where did the honored grandson go, Hokage-sama? I think he went to find Naruto. He seems to have taken a liking to the boy, replied Hiruzen. Time skip 1 week. Asterisk. All the academy graduates were sitting and waiting for Iruka to appear with the teams. Over the week, both Mito and Narumi had been unveiled as clan heirs, which was people were currently looking at them with looks of respect and were trying to befriend them. Naruto was sitting quietly next to Shino, both of them not willing to break the silence around them. Soon Iruka appeared with the teams and started with his speech on their duties to the leaf. His speech was ignored by most genin because they considered it to be boring. Alright, now for the teams. Team 1 to 5 random unimportant civilians. Team 6. Sayuri Uchiha, Kiba Inazaka and Sakura Haruno. Ignoring the shout of love conquers all, your Jonin sensei will be Kakashi Hatake. Team 7. Narumi Uzumaki, Mito Uzumaki and Hinata Hyuga. Your Jonin sensei will be Kushina Uzumaki. Team 8. Shino Aburame, Yakumo Kurama, and Aizen Sarutobi. Your Jonin sensei will be Kurenai Uehi. Team 9 is still in circulation. Team 10. Shikamaru Nara, Choji Akamichi, and Ino Yamanaka. Your Jonin sensei will be Asuma Sarutobi. Team 11 will be a two-man cell. Naruto Uzumaki, you will be the apprentice of Itachi Uchiha. Naruto gave a real smile at being able to train with one of his precious people, whereas Sayuri just growled in annoyance. Why would an Uchiha train a clan-less loser, she thought. Your sensei will be here in an hour. You may do anything you like in said hour. Iruka finished before leaving. Naruto sighed before taking out a deck of cards. He looked around the class and said, anyone wanna play? An hour later, when all the senseis including Kakashi who had been dragged by Kushina arrived, they saw all of the genin gambling, and by the looks of it Naruto was winning a lot. Grr, you have to be cheating. Kiba shouted in frustration as he pointed a finger at Naruto. Naruto just innocently smiled at him and said, you say something, Kiba. Causing everyone to once again face fault and all the Jonin to snicker. It was then they decided to reveal themselves. Team 6, come with me. Kakashi ordered. Team 7, follow me to ground 7. Kushina stated. Team 8, after me please, said Kurenai. Team 10, to the restaurant, said Asuma. Once all of them were gone, Naruto waited for a while with his eyes closed before saying, you can come out now, Nissan. It seems you are getting better with your sensing. You were able to sense me even though I was just masking half of my power, said Itachi as he stepped out of the shadows. Ah, come on, Nissan, you know the ability is not completely mastered. You should cut your favorite sibling some slack, Naruto said with a pout. Ho, and what gave you the idea that you are my favorite sibling? Itachi asked with an amused expression. 3 reasons actually 1. I have a completely developed Sharingan that I am not dependent on. 2. I don't have a 7-foot stick up my ass unlike your other sibling. 3. I am just way too awesome to not be your favorite. Naruto replied with a foxy grin. Itachi chuckled and ruffled Naruto's hair before saying, "You've got that right, let's go." Naruto jumped up from his seat and followed Itachi as they left towards a dango stand. After reaching the stand and ordering their food, Itachi sat down on a table and said, "Now I know all about your style and skills, Naruto-kun, so I won't waste time in testing your abilities. And I also have a fair idea of what to teach you, but I want to know if you plan on learning anything apart of what you are currently doing." "Hi Nissan. I was thinking of improving my taijutsu repertoire. I have the hummingbird, which involves speed and accurate but not that powerful attacks. I was thinking of adding a defensive style along with a direct style that uses powerful hits. After that I think it's high time I start my elemental manipulation. With genjutsu it's only high-level ones that I can learn. And finally I am having mixed thoughts about starting kenjutsu. Fuinjutsu will be carry on in the pace it is going," Naruto replied. "That is indeed a very well thought out plan, Naruto-kun. I think it would be best that you get scrolls for Toad style because it is among the best defensive taijutsu styles available. For a direct one I think Goken will suit you, or we could utilize your Sharingan and have you learn the Interceptor Fist. We will start elemental manipulation as I was already planning on it. I think kenjutsu will be good for you considering the fact that your mother is currently the best kenjutsu practitioner in the world," said Itachi. "She is not my mother, Nissan. I am in no way related to Lady Kushina. I agree with your other suggestions. So when do we begin?" Naruto asked in a very stiff tone. Itachi sighed inwardly. One of the reasons he had taken Naruto as his student was to get him to realize that holding on to the past brought nothing but sorrow, but it seems like he had his work cut out for him. He couldn't blame Naruto. Naruto resented both his mother, his godfather, and not to mention the entire village bar of few people. Hekitachi knew the only reason he had become a leaf shinobi was because of his father. He had his work cut out for him. "We shall begin tomorrow morning in training ground 43. It is seldom used by others and would be a good area to let loose," said Itachi, to which Naruto nodded. Naruto soon developed a mischievous glint in his eyes which immediately caused Itachi to go on the defensive. With a smirk on his face, Naruto says, "So Nisan, have you finally asked Ayame Ne-chan out, did you?" This question caught Itachi off guard and he stuttered out refusals. Sighing, Naruto shook his head and said, "You know Nisan, you should ask her out already. Nearly everyone in the village knows that you are infatuated with each other." Itachi then sighed and said, "It's not that simple, you know. I may be an S-rank ninja with a moniker of Konoha's Raven, but I am still a love-struck teenager. I get very shy just thinking about her. How am I supposed to ask her out?" "Well Nichan, it seems like you need my help. After training tomorrow we are going to be discussing you asking Ne-chan out," said Naruto. "Ho, and how will you help me?" asked Itachi. "You are looking at someone who has read nearly every romance novel in Konoha. I can offer a lot of advice," Naruto sagely said. Both nodded to each other and began eating in silence, making occasional small talk. Team 6. "Alright team, let's get on with the introductions," said Kakashi as he stared at the genin in front of him. "Why do you go first, sensei?" said Sakura. Sighing, Kakashi said, "My name is Kakashi Hatake. I have many likes, some dislikes. My dream for the future. You are way too young to know. Now you pinky," said Kakashi. "My name is Sakura Haruno. I like blushes and looks at Kiba. My dreams are looks at Kiba again with a slight nosebleed. My dislikes are Ino Buddha and Naruto Baka for what he did to Kiba-kun," said Sakura. "Great, just what I wanted, a fangirl," thought Kakashi. "Now you dog breath," said Kakashi pointing at Kiba. Grumbling at the nickname, Kiba said, "My name is Kiba Inazaka. My likes include training with my partner Akamaru and learning new jutsus. My dislikes include girls who don't listen to my advances and that doby Naruto. My dream for the future is to become the best Inazaka clan head in history. That's interesting, a pervert with a decent dream, thought Kakashi before pointing at Sayuri and saying, "Your turn, sunshine." My name is Sayuri Uchiha. My likes are tomatoes and training. My dislikes are my brother because of his attitude and Naruto just because he is how he is. My dream is to beat my brother and become the clan head and lead the clan back to its previous glory. Sayuri said in a monotone voice. So all three have a common standing in hating Naruto. Interesting, thought Kakashi. Clapping his hands he said, well, all those are good goals and dreams. Now all of you go home and come back here tomorrow at 7 a.m. sharp for the Genin test. Oh, they are gonna flip soon. He finished as he smirked in his mind. What do you mean by test, sensei? We already passed the academy test, Sakura said, her voice laced with confusion. Oh, the academy just narrows down people who can take the real test. In the test tomorrow, normally 66% of the genin fail and are sent to the reserves. Oh, just so you know, I have never passed a team before. Now off you go and remember not to have breakfast or else you will throw up, said Kakashi before he disappeared into a puff of smoke, leaving behind three confused genin. With Team 7. Alright team, let's begin with introductions. I will go first. My name is Kushina Uzumaki. My like are my family. My dislikes are people who harm my family, and my dream is to one day reconcile with my son who I have wronged in the worst possible way. Kushina said, her voice losing its happy edge as she finished speaking. Mito and Narumi both gave similar intros, and then finally it was Hinata's turn. She merely scoffed and said, my name is Hinata Hyuga. I am the heiress of the Hyuga clan. My likes include training and putting people in their place. My dislikes include the caged bird seal and some other things. My dream is to become a good clan head and find an answer to the caged bird seal. Alright then, we will meet here tomorrow for the start of our missions and training. Now I want you to know that being your sensei, there will be no secrets between us. If you have anything on your minds, tell me and I will help you in any and every way I can. Now off you go, I need to report to the Hokage, said Kushina before leaving the trio. Hinata wasted no time and left the red-headed twins. Both the sisters then drugged before deciding to visit Naruto. Canon for Team 8 and 10. About their tests and whatnot. I am not gonna write about them. Asterisk. Making their way through the village, both the girls received many greetings and looks of respect. Honestly, they enjoyed basking in the attention. Turning around the corner, they spotted Itachi casually walking and eating a Pocky stick. Running up to him, Mito shouted, Itachi-sensei, have you seen Naruto Nichin anywhere? Itachi gave an unnoticeable smile and said, he went over to train near his house after we did the test. He said he had just completed a jutsu and was now going to test it at full power. If you both go, no, you may just see it in action. Both the girls excitedly nodded before rushing up to Naruto, leaving a chuckling Itachi behind. I wonder how they'll react seeing his very own spiral release. Itachi before he went on his merry way. Soon the girls reached Naruto's personal training ground and saw him throw a ball of pure chakra before creating a ram sign and shouting, spiral release, spiraling Senbon rain. As he called the name, the chakra ball spread before exploding, sending countless Senbon made of pure chakra into the surroundings. You can come out now, Mito, Narumi, said Naruto, and both the girls sheepishly stepped out. So what can I do for you? Asked Naruto as Ge picked up his jacket and wore it. We came to see you, Nichin. But what was that jutsu? And why did you call it spiral release? Narumi asked with a tilt of her head. Chuckling, Naruto patted her head and said, that, my dearest Imouto, was one of my alternate versions of Rasengan. I am sure you both know what that is, right? Asked Naruto, getting a nod from both of the twins. Have you learned it yet? Asked Naruto, to which both girls shook their heads and said, We were focusing on elemental jutsu since controlling the Cubus chakra is a pain in the ass. OWWW. Mito yelped as Naruto bonked her on the head and said, "No using foul language in front of me, Missy. Am I understood?" "Hi Nichin." Mito meekly replied while blushing from embarrassment. "Well, back to your original question, I based several moves based of Rasengan, so I decide to name it as a whole style on its own. So far I have created some 15 jutsus for my very own spiral release. All of them require very good chakra control," said Naruto. As he explained, both girls had developed looks of admiration on their faces. Soon Narumi gave him the puppy dog look and said, "Nichin, please show me another jutsu of your spiral release." Mito gave him the same look and nodded along with Narumi. Looking at them, Naruto felt his defenses crumbling down before he sighed and nodded. Turning around, he brought his hand up and said, "Spiral release, Udama Rasengan." A giant spiraling ball appeared in his hands before it disappeared. He smirked at their dumb expressions before turning around and going to his home. Both the girls were brought out of their stupor and quickly ran after him. Watching from the trees was one of Danzo's operatives. He decided to go and inform his master of the new development. However, before he could leave, he felt a sword sticking out of his chest. Gasping and then coughing out blood, he turned and saw Itachi standing there with a smirk on his face. "I can't have you revealing my students' secrets now, can I?" he rhetorically asked before twisting and removing the sword. He then took the body and disappeared into the pre-evening sky. "So sensei, what are we doing today?" asked Naruto in a very excited voice. Itachi chuckled at his excitement and handed him chakra paper and said, "This is chakra paper. It will help us find your elemental affinity. Channel your chakra into it and see the result. If it's fire, it will burn; it will soak if it's water; cut down in half it is wind; turn to dust if it's earth; and will wrinkle if your affinity is lightning." Normally every shinobi has one affinity to start, and from there onwards affinities can be learned via training. Any questions? Just one. Is it possible for a person to have more than one affinity? Naruto curiously asked. It is indeed possible, however multiply affinities normally points to an elemental bloodline trait. Like wind and water make Hyoten, fire and rock create lava, water and earth create Mokuten lightning, and wind creates Rantan, etc., said Itachi as he signaled Naruto to channel his chakra into the page. As soon as he channeled his chakra into the page, it was cut into 25 pieces, all of which first wrinkled and were then soaked. Both Naruto and Itachi were watching with dumbfounded expressions, still coming into terms with what happened. "So I have an extremely strong affinity for both wind, lightning and water. I am awesome, Datbeo," Naruto exclaimed before immediately face-palming at his verbal tic. "I thought I had it under control," he grumbled with a sigh. Itachi chuckled at the boy and ruffled his hair before saying, "Hey, now there's no need to hide your verbal tic, it's part of who you are. In fact, I can already imagine your bingo book nickname, Konoha's Genius Knucklehead," Itachi said before he burst out laughing, which was very unusual for someone as introverted as Itachi. Naruto glared at him before he grinned maliciously and said, "And in the next update of said bingo book you will get an additional nickname of Konoha's Stuttering Confessor. Datbeo," Naruto said this time with a foxy grin. Itachi glared at Naruto before both of them burst out laughing. After they stopped, Itachi said, "All right Naruto, I want you to create 125 clones, give 75 of them leaves. 25 of them will work on cutting the leaf, 25 will work on soaking theirs, and finally 25 will work on wrinkling it. This is the basic exercise of elemental manipulation. After that I want 25 of them to practice these katas for the Goken style, and finally the remaining 25 will practice the Uzumaki sword style." "Understood. I agree on the others, sensei, but isn't there another sword style I could use?" "I don't want to use her style," Naruto stiffly said. Itachi sighed. He really wanted to help his godmother, but it seemed Naruto was not interested in reconciling with her. Bending down to meet Naruto's eyes, Itachi said, "Listen Naruto, The Uzumaki sword style is the best one for you. It is the strongest style out there and only a few can master it. It depends on not only speed but power as well, not to mention your chakra chains. It would be a waste if you didn't try it. Itachi said in a soothing voice. Fine, I will try it, but only because you told me to. But sensei, I don't even have a sword. Naruto said. Well, get your clones out and get them reading and manipulating. Today they read the Kata scrolls and we get the sword. Tomorrow they can practice with and we go on a C rank mission. Itachi replied. But sensei, don't I have to do D ranks first? Naruto asked with a tilt of his head. Naruto D ranks are primarily built for teamwork among genins. Since we are a two-man cell, it's unnecessary. 2, you are already mid-chunin already, so it's fine. 3, as much as I hate to say to the villagers, won't let you get close enough for D ranks. So we will only be doing C rank missions and higher. Now let's go get your sword, said Itachi as he turned and started walking. Naruto quickly created 125 clones and had them do what Itachi had instructed him to before running behind Itachi. Soon the teacher-student duo made their way to Dragon's Lair. As soon as they entered, Naruto shouted, Kaiza Oji-san, where are you? Right here, brat, stop shouting, came Kaiza's reply as he came up to greet the pair. As soon Naruto saw, he launched himself at the shopkeeper and tightly hugged him. Kaiza hugged him back as he chuckled. So brat, what do you need? Asked Kaiza. Kaiza Oji-san, I need a sword to start my kenjutsu training. Oh, and this is my sensei Itachi Uchiha. Naruto finished pointing at Itachi. Hello Itachi-san. I have heard a lot about you and hope you teach Naruto well, said Kaiza as he shook hands with Itachi. I promise to teach him to the best of my ability, Kaiza-san. Now could you please show us some of your swords? Asked Itachi, to which the man nodded and motioned for them to follow him. The trio made their way to one of the corners in the store. The corner was full of swords. There were all sorts of swords here, from the wakizashi to the kodachi and from the zanbato to your regular ninjutsu. Making his way through swords, Naruto soon found that nothing was attracting him. He was about to leave before his eyes fell on a sword. It was a beautiful katana with a white sheath. It had the Namikaze logo on the sheath, while the kanji for sky was printed on its hilt. As soon as he saw it, Naruto knew that this was the sword for him. It was perfect, beautiful, deadly, made for fast-paced, accurate attacks, which was his style of combat. Moreover, it felt as if the sword was calling out to him. Instinctively his hand moved to pick it up. In his hand, JT felt perfect, as if it was an extension of himself. Turning around to the adults, he shouted, Kaiza Oji-san, Itachi-sensei, I have found the sword I need. He then pointed at the sword in his hand. Kaiza's eyes widened as soon as he saw the sword, and then he smirked and said, Damn Gaki, you have a very good choice, said Kaiza. How do you mean, Kaiza? Asked Itachi. Let's just say that sword just arrived from the land of iron today. It was personally crafted by the legendary swordsmith Murasama. It is made of chakra-conducting metal. The more chakra you conduct, the harder it gets. Also, Lord Mifune sent a scroll with that sword. It's called the Itoryu style. I recommend Naruto to learn it. It's among the top 5 sword styles out there, said Kaiza. Wow. You hear that, sensei? Now I can have my own personal style. Yada, I am the best. Naruto excitedly said. Now Naruto, you still have to learn the style first. Since we have this, I don't think the swirl style will be necessary. Also, Kaiza, what's the cost for the blade and the scroll? Asked Itachi. Don't worry, that's taken care of. Hiruzen made it so when he bought the Gaki to me 8 years ago, said Kaiza with a wave of his hand. With a thank you, both Naruto and Itachi left the shop and made way to their training ground. Upon returning, they saw 50 clones groaning in frustration and the others doing what they were. Itachi knew it was due to the slow rate of progress. So he then called out, imagine wind to be sharp and moving in opposite direction, while fluid and thumping for water, along with pulsing for lightning. The clones nodded, started trying again. Naruto on the other hand created 60 more clones and said, 10 of you chakra control, 25 continue with our fuinjutsu and 25 of you start this kenjutsu style. Go work with the other kenjutsu group. Why did you create another 25 for kenjutsu Naruto-kun? Itachi asked in a confused tone. Well, I promised you to learn the Uzumaki style and I never break a promise, it's my nindo. Naruto replied, to which Itachi nodded. Suddenly Naruto wore a mischievous grin and he said, Nissan, let's go, we need to get you to ask Ayame Ne-chan out today. He pulled Itachi by the hand and led him away. Now it's simple, all you have to do is repeat after me and it will all be okay, said Naruto, to which Itachi nodded as he wore the radio given to him by Naruto. Making his way into the bar, Itachi sat down and said, Afternoon Ayame, how are you? Ayame blushed and looked at him before answering. I am okay. Can I get you something? Only if you make an extra bowl and eat with me. Don't worry, I will pay for it, said Itachi, repeating Naruto's words. Oh, is this a date? Ayame asked in a sultry voice. Aye, it is. Itachi stuttered out, blushing, and Naruto face palmed. You are on your own now, sensei. Just kiss her. Take that final step. It's a leap of faith, do it. Naruto shouted into his ear. Itachi gulped before he suddenly got up and kissed Ayame square on the lips. Time seemed to slow down as they kissed each other. In that moment they were the only ones that mattered. A few seconds later both broke the kiss and a blushing Itachi whispered, I love you, will you give me the honor of being my girlfriend? Squealing, Ayame launched herself into Itachi's arms while shouting yes repeatedly. Tsuki appeared sometime later and saw the blushing couple sitting together and eating. Connecting the dots, he smiled and decided to leave them be today and tease them on another day. Naruto smiled, looking at the calm and happy look on his sensei's face, and then disappeared via a shushin, going back to his training ground. I'm not gonna write the bell test or anything. It's the same everywhere. I am gonna go straight to the report and missions. Asterisk. Okay then, report. Hiruzen said to all the Jonin senseis in front of him. Team 1 failed. Team 2 failed. Team 3 failed. Team 4 failed. Team 5 failed. Well, since Kakashi isn't here, let's carry on, Hiruzen said, not wanting to wait for the silver-haired Jonin to continue the proceedings. Team 7 passed. I made them do a teamwork drill where they had to try feeding Puck, said Kushina. Who is this Puck, Kushina? Asked Hiruzen. My pet rabbit, said Kushina with an anime smile. Team 8 passed. I had them perform a tracking mission where they had to find me. Shino used his bugs to track me down. Yakumo has gotten much better with HHER Genjutsu and managed to trap me for 10 secs before I broke out with Aizen getting the hit on me. Kurenai stated. Team 10 passed. I had them 3 fight me. Ino is the bossy one who motivated both the boys to try harder. Choji is the team's muscle, whereas Shikamaru is the brains. He got me trapped in his shadow bind. Then Ino used her jutsu to try invading my mind before Choji hit me and she left, said Asuma with a puff of smoke from his cigarette. Naruto passed. I already knew how strong he was, so having him tested was a waste of time. I have already started his training, said Itachi, garnering shocked looks from around the room. What? Itachi said in an annoyed tone. No offense to you, Itachi, but all of us saw his academy scores, he was below average. Why would you even want to train him? Asked Kurenai with all other Jonins except Kushina, who was seething in anger. Itachi and Hiruzen both looked at the Jonins blankly before Itachi broke into chuckles and Hiruzen roared in laughter. When the laughter died down, Itachi looked at the Jonins with an amused look and said, Naruto said, and I quote, the academy is useless. It's all a waste of time. I'd rather build up my practical skills rather than stick to learning useless history. He has been training since he was 4 and I have been following his progress since he took out a Kumo Jonin. He is at least mid-Chunin level and will only grow strong under me. Itachi's statement caused all the Jonins to drop their jaws. It was then that Kakashi entered the room and said, Sorry I am late, I got lost on the road of life. Everyone was broken out of their stupor at his statement and then sweat dropped at his bad excuse. Kakashi then said, Team 7 passed but barely. They didn't understand the true meaning of the bell test and only worked to get the bells alone. They each other after I ordered them not to, which is why they passed. Alright then everyone, thank you for your reports, you may leave, said Hiruzen. After everyone left, Hiruzen sighed and created shadow clones for his paperwork and himself started reading a novel. With Naruto. Naruto was casually walking in the streets, ignoring the usual glares that people were sending his way. Suddenly he spotted something on the wall to his right and said, Alright, come on out now, Konohamaru. There was a puff of smoke and from it came out Konohamaru, a girl with orange hair and a boy with a droopy nose with glasses. Boss, how did you find us? Konohamaru whined. Chuckling, Naruto ruffled the boy's head and said, Yourself is good for an academy student but not good enough to hide from a real ninja. Now then, who are you two? I am Moegi and I am the most beautiful girl in the academy. The orange-haired girl said. And I am Udon. I like math, said the boy with the glass. And we together are the Konohamaru Corps. The three academy students said together. Clapping at the introduction, Naruto said, Nice to meet you guys. It's good to see that you already recognize each other as a team. I have a little doubt that when you become ninjas you will be among the greatest ninja teams Konoha has ever produced. Ah boss, you are making us blush, said Moegi. Do you really mean it, boss? Asked Udon. Whereas Konohamaru just bounced with happiness at receiving the praise. I meant it, Udon. Now you three, I won't be able to play ninja today, so how about I cook something for you? Asked Naruto. Snapping his neck towards Naruto, Konohamaru said, Boss, you know how to cook. Yup, now follow, we are going to my home. I may even show you one of my jutsus, said Naruto as he turned and started walking towards his home, the three genin eagerly following him. When they reached his home he turned around and said, So what do you guys want? Request anything you want, I will cook it for you. If you insist then I'd like some curry and rice, said Moegi with a blush. I would like some steak, Udon said as he rubbed the back of his head. I could use some pasta, said Konohamaru as he scratched his cheek nervously. Got it. Go in the lounge, watch some TV or read any books. I will call you when the food is ready, said Naruto as he headed to the kitchen. The three shinobi hopefuls were amazed to see the amount of books and scrolls inside Naruto's home. They tried to open a few scrolls but they were sealed by a blood seal and hence dropped the attempts and kept them back. About 20 minutes Naruto called out, Oi, come in the kitchen, food's ready. The three kids went to the kitchen to find 4 plates of steaming food on the counter. As they sat down, Naruto came in wearing an apron, wiping his hands with a towel. Well, aren't you gonna eat? He asked with a foxy grin. Itadakimasu. All 4 of them said together and they began to eat. After the first bite all 3 kids began scarfing down their food at an abnormal pace. After they finished all 3 spoke up and said, Boss, where did you learn to cook like this? Konohamaru asked giddily. This is the best thing I have ever eaten, Udon said. He cooks better than mom. Moegi mumbled with a blush. I am glad you like it. I also prepared some for you guys to take home with. Now I will show you a jutsu that I may or may not teach you when you graduate from the academy, and after that you will go home. Agreed, Naruto asked, to which all 3 of them nodded. Naruto then stood up and formed a perfect Rasengan in his arm and showed it to the kids. All 3 of them had eyes as wide as saucers. It was then that Konohamaru asked, Boss, what is that jutsu? It looks so strong, he said, his voice laced with curiosity. That was, young friend, is one of signature moves called the Rasengan. It's an A-rank jutsu, said Naruto. Boss, how were you able to do that jutsu without any hand signs? Udon asked, his eyes full of admiration. That was because this move depends completely on chakra control and manipulation. You don't need to mold it to use it, said Naruto. Boss, can you teach it to us? Moegi asked. I can, but only after you graduate. Now promise me you will not talk about this jutsu with anyone. It's one of my trump cards and I wish to keep it a secret for as long as possible. Am I clear? Naruto said and asked in a serious voice. Yes, okay, yup. All three of them said and then left Naruto's home. Naruto after cleaning up went for a shower and after coming out he dispelled his clones getting all of their knowledge and experience. The next day. It was early in the morning. We can see both Itachi and Naruto making their way for their first mission. Naruto being as he was did not wait to knock the door to the Hokage's office and kicked it open and launched himself at the old Hokage who already had his hands out. Ah, it's good to see you my boy. How are you? Hiruzen lovingly asked. I am fine Gigi here for my very first mission. Naruto replied with a fox-like grin. Before Hiruzen could reply Itachi said, Hokage-sama I want to request 8 C-rank missions for Naruto and I. Are you sure Itachi? I mean he is a fresh genin. Hiruzen replied. I know Hokage dono. But we know he has no team to work with and the civilians won't let him do any D ranks. So the next best course of action will be to do C ranks. And I asked for more than one because I thought it would be a good change of pace for Naruto to move out of the village for a while. Said Itachi. You make a valid point Itachi. Fine here you go these are 13 C-rank missions that shouldn't take more than 2 months to complete. I will expecting you back soon. Hiruzen said as both Itachi and Naruto nodded before leaving to pack their things. An hour later both of them signed out and left the village. But not before creating 60 clones with enough chakra to last for 2 months. They were to continue working on things they had started. With Team 6. 4 hours later. Yo! Said Kakashi as he arrived in the training ground that was reserved for his team. You are late. All 3 genin shouted. Well you see I was on my way when a black cat crossed my path. For that reason I had to turn around and take the long way here. Kakashi lazily answered. Liar. Sakura shouted. Ma Sakura, now that we are all here let's start our training. For the first week we will only do teamwork drills and a few missions. I will explain the next phase of your training when we reach the second week. Said Kakashi. He then proceeded to blindfold all 3 of his genins and tasked them to pass a ball in between each other. They obviously failed miserably and none of them were able to catch the ball even once. After 3 hours of this exercise they decided to visit the Hokage and get a couple of missions done today. With Team 7. At the same time. So team glad you could make it. We will begin the day with a little training. Then we will perform a few missions and after that we can do some personal training on any factors that you might want to improve on. Said Kushina as she looked at her genins. The 3 genins nodded and began the physical training menu that Kushina had set for them. As she was watching her genins train she couldn't help but wonder how Naruto was doing. She was waiting for him to get used to her presence in the village and then try to talk to him but she had ultimately been stopped by her best friend Makoto Uchiha who argued that the current peace may be destroyed if she moved too hastily. She continued observing her genin for 2 hours before signaling them to stop and then going to the Hokage Tower to get some fresh missions in. Back with Team 6. Team 6 reporting for missions Hokage-sama. Kakashi said as he entered the Hokage's office with his 3 genin following behind him. All 3 of them were buzzing in excitement for their first mission as ninjas. Alright then let's see. We have a house that needs painting, a garden that needs weeding, a mission to catch Tora, and a few more. What will you take? Asked Hiruzen surprising the genin with the absurd level of the missions. Meanwhile Kakashi and Hiruzen inwardly smirked looking at the reaction of the genin. We will take the weeding and the painting missions sir. Kakashi said as Hiruzen nodded and handed them 2 scrolls after which they left. As soon as they left the building Kiba pointed a finger at Kakashi and said, Oi sensei what's with these chores we are ninjas we need proper missions. Both Sayuri and Sakura nodded along with what Kiba said. Kakashi however waved his hand dismissively and said, You are fresh out of the academy. To get any high-ranked mission you need to at least have 40 to 50 D-rank missions. So better hurry up if you want to leave the village for a mission soon. The three genins grumbled but nonetheless complied and made way to start their D-rank missions. With Team 7. Asterisk. Hokage-sama Team 7 reporting for missions database, Kushina chirped. The Hokage smirked and threw her a scroll which she caught. After reading the mission statement she smirked as well. Motioning her team to follow her she left the office and started explaining the D-rank mission to catch the demon cat Tora. All three genins screamed in indignation at being tasked to perform such a trivial mission. However, they all soon quietened down after Kushina's hair split up into 9 parts and started floating, all the while having a strange red aura around her that oddly resembled the Kyuubi. The scary scene in front of them quickly shut the three genin up as they quickly ran to start their missions in order to avoid the wrath of their mother, Sensei. After finally allocating the missions, Hiruzen sighed and looked at the sky before thinking, I really need to choose a successor. I am getting way too old for this shit. Back with our knuckle-headed genius. So Sensei, what is our first course of action? Naruto curiously asked. Well, our first 3 missions are relatively simple as all 3 are within the land of fire. We first have to visit the fire temple to deliver a letter from the Hokage, then we have to go and get a document from the daimyo and deliver it to the Hokage. And lastly, we need to receive some chakra metal from the envoy of the land of iron at the border of the fire country. I am sure you can use your summons to deliver, right? Itachi explained and asked while receiving a nod of confirmation from Naruto. Okay Sensei, what about the other missions? Naruto asked. After that we will visit Tokigakure for giving them a trade agreement from the Hokage. Then we have a mission from the Uzumaki clan to go to Kusagakure and get the member of said clan that lives there. We then are to visit Lord Kazana in the land of snow and guard a festival for 3 days, and then escort him back to his castle. After that we will make a trip to the demon country where Lady Xian resides. She has requested 3 missions of us to escort her to a temple where she will perform a ritual. Our second mission with her will be to protect her during the ritual and finally to escort her back to her estate. Then we go and give some documents to Sunagakure and then we have to go to the Wind Daimyo protecting him during his travel from the Wind capital and back. And after that we return home and rest for a few days. Itachi said. Wow Nissan, I am so awesome doing so many good missions so early. I can't wait to show Gigi what I can do. Naruto excitedly said. Well, I am sure you will do us all proud. Naruto, now let us pick up speed. The faster we move the earlier we finish. Itachi said as he quickened his pace with Naruto following in his footsteps. It had been 2 months since the genin started their missions and now we can find both teams 6 and 7 in the Hokage office awaiting to receive new missions. Ah, teams 6 and 7 here for a mission. Well, let's see, we need shopping for an old couple, painting of a fence, catching Tora. So which will it be? Asked Hiruzen in an amused voice. Before any of the senseis could answer, Narumi shouted, none of them, we are ninjas, we already have completed our prerequisite 50D ranks, now give us a real mission. All the other genins nodded energetically to Narumi's outburst. Sighing, Hiruzen looked at Kushina and Kakashi and asked, do you think they are ready? As ready as they will ever be, though their teamwork needs work, but that will fix itself over time, said Kakashi, getting a thankful look from his genins. Yes, I believe they are ready, and if anything goes wrong I will be able to handle it. Kushina said. This time she was receiving thankful looks from her genin. Fine then, since I only have 1 C rank available, both teams can share it. Is that agreeable? Hiruzen asked. After receiving confirmative nods from both teachers, Hiruzen called out, Mina, send Tazuna in. After a while an old man having a bottle of sake in his hands entered the room. He looked at the genin and scoffed, saying, I paid for ninja and what do I get? 4 princesses, 1 girl who looks weaker than a twig and an idiot who is a dog's pet. Get me some real ninjas. All 6 genins had to be restrained from attacking the old man. Hiruzen chuckled at the scene and said, now you can't kill the client. Now Tazuna, they are among our most promising genin and their senseis are elite jonins, they should be able to protect you just fine, so don't worry. Fine then. Listen up, my name is Tazuna the Great Bridge Builder. During the escort I want you to protect me with your lives, said Tazuna as he turned around and left the room. Well, that settles it. I want you all to go and pack for a month. Meet us at the north gate after 2 hours. Now run along, me and Kushina-sama need to talk to the Hokage. Kakashi said as he sent the 6 genin away. Kushina then made a hand sign and the privacy seals in the room were immediately activated. Hiruzen then adopted a serious look and asked, "What is it?" "We want to know where Naruto is. I haven't seen him or Itachi for almost 2 months now." Kushina worriedly said. "Oh, don't worry, they are out on missions. Their last one ends today and they should be back in a couple of days," said Hiruzen. "What? You mean you sent my baby out on century-ranked missions right off the bat?" Kushina shouted. Hiruzen looked at her calmly and then said, "It was his sensei's choice. Naruto is our strongest genin who can give most of my chunin a very hard time. Apart from that, no one would want to be close enough to the demon brat, as he is called. He couldn't do D ranks, but he needed experience, which is why I gave him the next best thing, C ranks, and several of them because I felt Naruto could use some time away from the hate of the villagers." Kushina slowly nodded and let a few tears escape her eyes as she quietly said, "That doesn't mean I can't be worried about him. I am already suffering the consequences of my mistake. I wouldn't be able to survive if something happened to him." As she finished, her crying turned into sobs. Hiruzen then gave her a grandfatherly hug and let her loose. He knew that she was in turmoil and she needed to relieve the pressure before it got to her. There, when Naruto gets back I will try talking to him. Everyone deserves a second chance and I hope that he forgives you too," Hiruzen soothingly said to the crying woman in his hands. Kushina nodded before she broke the hug and left after thanking Hiruzen. "I guess we really need to get Naruto to at least open up on the possibility of forgiving Kushina-sama," Kakashi solemnly said. "I know, Kakashi, I know. Truth be told, I view Kushina as my daughter. She was entrusted to me when Mito-sama died. I wasn't able to stop her then, but I really hope Naruto finds it in his heart to forgive her. I won't make Naruto do anything, the poor boy has already suffered so much. What I will do is talk to him thoroughly and then leave it up to his judgment," said Hiruzen. Kakashi then nodded in agreement before saluting and leaving the room. "Damn you, Minato, look at the mess you left me in. Why did you have to sacrifice yourself? I could have easily performed the very same sealing ritual," Hiruzen dejectedly thought before going back to doing the paperwork. He didn't want to use shadow clones today because he needed a distraction today. With Teams 6 and 7. Asterisk. 2 hours later, all 6 genin were seen impatiently waiting for their senseis and client to arrive. "What's taking them so long?" Mito whined. "Get used to it, Kakashi-sensei is always late," Soccer grumbled and said. I wonder what type of mission will this turn out to be." Hinata thought out loud. Hinata over the 2 months had warmed up to the twins and had actually removed the mask of arrogance that she wore. The twins soon learned that she was actually a very caring person who had to hide herself because of her clan, and to show someone special that she was strong. "What do you mean, Hinata?" Narumi curiously asked. "I was just wondering how our first mission will play out. It's my first time leaving the village, so I am a little nervous." Hinata replied. It's my first time as well and I am feeling excited. I wonder if we get to fight out there," Sayuri said with a thoughtful look. There is no need to worry because if we are attacked I will handle it and protect you," Kiba cockily said, trying to assert himself as the alpha of the group. Both Mito and Narumi burst out laughing as his attempt and Hinata said, "Seriously, you take the pack seriously, all of us here are around the same in terms of strength, so put a sock in it, dog breath." Before Kiba could answer, Kushina appeared pulling both Kakashi and Tazuna by the collars. "Okay, now that we all are here, let's begin this mission." And with that all of them left the village. 2 hours later, Kakashi and Kushina noticed a puddle of water in the middle of the road. It hasn't rained in weeks, there shouldn't be any puddles. Unless it's a genjutsu. Both the Jonins thought at the same time. They however decided to ignore it and see how things played themselves out. As both Jonins crossed the puddle, two ninjas sprung out of it and used sharp wires to cut both Jonins into multiple pieces. "Kachin, sensei!" All the Genins shouted in shock. "2 down, 6 to go," said one of the two ninjas, and using a chain to connect themselves and attack the Genins. However, they were intercepted by Mito, Narumi, Hinata and Sayuri. Mito and Narumi used the fast power-based attacks of the Swirl Fist and their teamwork and finally knocked one of the attacking ninjas out. On the hand, Hinata used her gentle fist to temporarily paralyze their opponent before Sayuri hit the finishing blow on the ninja's neck, effectively knocking him out. As they tied the unconscious ninjas, both the Jonins appeared out of the woods, and then Kakashi said, "Good work, teams, you didn't freeze and took out two Chunin-level opponents. Not only that, you guys had covered Tazuna as well to save him in case any stray attack got past. Good work. Sensei, you are alive." Sakura shouted in relief. "Yeah, we just replaced ourselves with logs," Kushina said, pointing to the spot where they had been supposedly cut to pieces. "Hey, wait, if you were alive, why didn't you defeat those ninjas yourself?" Tazuna asked. "Oh, for two reasons. One, we wanted to see how our Genins reacted, and believe me when I say they reacted perfectly. And two, we wanted to know whether those ninjas were attacking us or were after you. Now that we know, how about you tell us the truth, Tazuna?" Kakashi said with a glare. I don't know what you mean," Tazuna stammered out. "Then let me spell it out for you. C-rank missions don't deal with ninjas. There are rogue ninjas after you. This mission is easily a rank. You risked the life of my daughters and my student. You better give me a good reason why you did that before I castrate you." Kushina menacingly snarled out. Fine, I will talk. Have you heard of Gato, the richest man in the elemental nations? Well, he came to the wave recently and took over the whole country. He unfairly taxed people and then used thugs to kill those who opposed him. Because of that, the wave country couldn't afford any mission higher than AC rank 1. The only hope for the wave is for me to complete the bridge to open a direct trade route. Gato wants me dead because that bridge would disrupt his business. Tazuna explained. You put my team in danger by hiding important mission. We right now have every right to cancel this mission. So guys, what will you do? Kakashi said as he turned to the Genins. I saw we continue. We can't let Gato kill the people of the wave, they are innocent. Mito said, with the other Genins all nodding in agreement. Very well then, but remember now, this mission is a ranked and our next opponents will definitely be Jonin level at least. So remember, if we tell you to run, you run. Understood? Kushina asked in an uncharacteristically serious tone. All 6 of the Genin gulped before nodding. Kakashi then bit his thumb and summoned his nin dog Pakun and said, Pakun, take this letter to the Hokage and tell him to send us a little backup. We were attacked by the demon brothers of the mist and don't know who we are facing next. The nin dog nodded before disappearing in a puff. The group then carried on their way to the wave. Hoping to avoid any further confrontations with rogue ninjas. They soon reached the coast, from where they took a boat, a sail to the wave. After reaching shore, they continued their trek towards Tazuna's home. On the way, Kiba suddenly heard something move in the bush to his right and immediately threw a kunai in it. But the only thing that appeared was a white rabbit. Relax, moron, not every sound you hear will be an enemy, Sayuri said in a monotone voice. However, both Kushina and Kakashi were having different thoughts. A white rabbit at this time of the year, it can only mean substitution. Everybody duck. Both of them shouted and then tackled everyone to the ground as a giant sword flew past them and then hit a tree trunk. So Sharingan no Kakashi and Konoha's Benihime, no wonder the demon brothers failed. A voice said with a sneer. As everyone looked up, they saw a tall man, with a masked face, looking down on them. Zabuza Momochi, demon of the mist, what are you doing here? Kakashi lazily asked. Oh, nothing. Me and my partner here, points to his back towards a man with white hair, were hired to kill that bridge builder. Just surrender him to us and we will let you and your genin teams go. Zabuza said as the white-haired man came out in the open and smirked at the Konoha nin. Mangetsu Hazuka aka the White Death of the Mist, said Kushina as stood up straight and stared down on her opponents. So a fight it is, said Kakashi as he unveiled his Sharingan and stared at Zabuza. Right from the get-go, huh? I am so honored. Well then, let's start, shall we? Hidden Mist Jutsu. Zabuza called out, and suddenly the entire area had been covered by a very thick mist. The Konoha ninjas soon discovered that their dojutsus won't work as the mist was laced with chakra that blocked all the view. Suddenly the area was flooded with a very potent killing intent and both Zabuza's and Mangetsu's voices rang out. 8 vital spots: heart, jugular, kidneys, liver, subclavian artery, spine, larynx, lungs now, which will be our attack point. Their voices taunting the Konoha nin. The genins were shaking from the killer intent, unable to move as he sat there under the massive killer intent. Especially Sayuri. Slowly she was bringing a kunai up to her neck to end it but was cut off by Kakashi. Don't worry Sayuri, you will be alright, I will protect you, Kakashi said in order to prevent the untimely death of his student. Oh, I don't think so, said Zabuza as he appeared behind Tazuna and brought his cleaver down towards the bridge builder, but before he could, Kakashi intercepted and deflected the swing with a kunai. Kakashi kicked Zabuza back into the mist where he couldn't be seen before running off after him. Appearing behind the demon of the mist, he held a kunai to his larynx and slit his neck but noticed he turned into water. Mizabushin, the copy ninja, thought as he was struck with the cleaver, ripping him in half before dissolving into water. Well, I'm impressed Kakashi. Even in the mist you were able to copy my moves, but that's all it is, a copy. It has nothing on the original, Zabuza boasted. Planning his next attack, he kicked Kakashi out of the fog and onto the water. On the other hand, both Kushina and Mangetsu were locked in a stare down. I always wanted to see what the Benihime was capable of, and now my dream is about to be fulfilled. Mangetsu taunted out. Ho, I am glad that the strongest of the 7 swordsmen of the mist wanted to fight. Now enough chatter, let's fight. Kushina replied as she unsheathed her kodachis and released her chakra chains. After standing still for a few moments, both disappeared in bursts of speed, and suddenly the whole area was full of red and white blurs that were accompanied by constant clashing of metal. The fight was soon a stalemate. Both the fighters moved at the same speed and hit with the same strength. But both knew that this was only a warm-up. They were just testing the waters with each other before they got serious. Back with Kakashi, he was now trapped in a water prison. He quickly turned to the genins and shouted, "Run now." He needs to maintain his concentration for this jutsu run. Before the genins could react or even answer, Zabuza made a water clone and sent it charging towards the genin. The clone swung the giant sword towards Sayuri, aiming to kill. She just closed her eyes and awaited death. However, nothing came except the sound of metal clanking. Opening her eyes, she saw a familiar tuft of blonde hair standing in front of her. It was Naruto, and he had stopped the clone's attack with a sword of his own. He then created 2 Sealess clones that attacked and destroyed the clone he was locked with. The 2 clones then started going through hand signs and at the same time shouted, "Wind, water style, water, wind, bullet jutsu." Both the bullets joined together and flew towards Zabuza, who had to release Kakashi to dodge it. Naruto then turned his head slightly to look at the 6 genin behind him and said, "Seriously, I leave you alone for a month and you guys go and get yourselves in front of death's door. Geez, I feel like a babysitter." He finished in a slightly depressed tone with a cloud visible over his head. "Nichan, Dobi," came the shouts of the genin behind. He immediately said, "I will explain later, everyone protect Tazuna, take the diamond formation." All 6 genin begrudgingly complied and formed a perimeter around Tazuna. Back with Kakashi. I got distracted and forced to let go of the water prison, Zabuza said, not wanting to think he was outsmarted by a fresh genin. "Don't flatter yourself, you were forced to let go," Kakashi said as he waited for Zabuza to start the first move. Zabuza jumped away from Kakashi and started running through hand signs at the same time as Kakashi. In the end, both finished at the same time, ending shouting, "Water style! Water dragon jutsu!" Identical dragon-shaped streams of water clash in the air and then cancel each other out. How did that happen? The Sharingan allows the user to copy and recreate what the other is doing, but they defiantly finished at the same time. How? Thought Zabuza as the jutsu ended. Zabuza jumped back and started to run through hand signs, but failed to notice that Kakashi was once again performing the same jutsu, only this time faster. Water-style giant vortex jutsu. Kakashi finished in a large spinning wave of water hit Zabuza, throwing him into a tree. How are you doing that? Can you? Zabuza asked, but was cut off by Kakashi. See the future. Yes, and in your future, I see death. Kakashi finished for Zabuza. But before he could deliver the killing blow, Senbon needles shot out from a nearby tree and impaled into Zabuza's neck, apparently killing him. Thank you for weakening my target. I have been chasing him for a long time, the masked hunter Nin said in an even tone. Allow me to take the body. Farewell, Leaf Ninja, the masked hunter said as he picked up the body and left with a shunshin. With Kushina, the stalemate ended and both fighters jumped back, creating some distance between each other. Before anyone could react, a black figure jumped into the air, and after going through the hand signs, the figure looked at Mangetsu and shouted, "Fire style! Great fireball jutsu!" A giant fireball came out of the figure's mouth and flew towards Mangetsu and hit him head on. The force of the jutsu was enough to launch him into a tree. However, before the figure could finish his attack, a hunter Nin with white hair appeared and said, "Thank you for weakening him, I will take it from here. We were chasing him for a while now." The figure nodded and let the hunter Nin leave with Mangetsu's body. The figure turned around and said, "Lady Kushina, it's been a while. Itachi, what are you doing here? Where is Naruto?" She asked the figure, who turned out to be Itachi. He helped the other group. I think they are done as well. Let's get somewhere safe and we can exchange the recent events that happened to each of our groups. Itachi replied, to which Kushina nodded and turned to look at the other group. Back with them, Naruto was carrying a tired Kakashi back to the group. He then looked up to Tazuna and said, "You must be the client. Could you lead us to your home? As you can see, our comrade here needs rest." It was then that the Kushina and Itachi joined the group and they started making way for Tazuna's home. After walking a while, the group reached Tazuna's home. He knocked the door and said, "Tsunami, I am home." After a few moments, a beautiful brown-haired woman appeared and hugged Tazuna, saying, "Dad, you are back. You are not hurt, are you?" No, I am fine thanks to all these ninjas, they are very strong," Tazuna replied. Excuse miss, could you give us a place where our friend can rest? He is tired." Naruto cut in. "Oh, I am sorry, please follow me," said Tsunami. She then led them into a room where Naruto laid Kakashi in a futon and went back to the group. The twins were huddled together with Kushina obviously still shaken from the killing intent they had experienced early on in the day. As soon as Naruto arrived, both of them launched themselves at Naruto and cried. Naruto sighed before he started to rub their backs soothingly, trying to get them relaxed. He knew that experiencing that amount of killing intent for the very first time can leave a devastating effect. Soon they stopped crying but did not leave Naruto's side. It was then that Kushina looked at Itachi and said, "So what are you doing here, Itachi?" "Well, Lady Kushina, me and Naruto were returning from our mission to Kusagakure. However, before we could enter the land of fire, we received a new mission which was to back your teams up. So then we picked up pace and came to the wave as soon as possible. When we arrived, we saw you fighting and then made up a plan, which was Naruto helping Kakashi and me helping you," Itachi explained, to which all the genin and Kushina nodded. Naruto then broke away from the twins and stood up before saying, "I am going out to meditate. I will be back soon." Naruto went out to the forest and sat down before he closed his eyes and meditated. This exercise calmed him, and even if he didn't show it, he was a nervous wreck right now. He had almost lost the only family he ever had. He was thankful that he reached when he did, otherwise things could have gotten much more worse. After a while he said, "You know you can come out." From the back Sayuri and Hinata came out looking slightly sheepish. Sayuri then spoke and asked, "How did you know we were there?" "I sensed your chakra. Now why would you two highness meet someone as lowly as me?" Naruto sarcastically asked. "Why did you save us again?" Hinata quietly asked. "Oh, so you guys remember from back then?" "Well, to be honest, I moved on my own. There was no prior plan, I just did." Naruto answered. "That doesn't make any sense. You make fun of us, hardly give us any attention, never talk to us, and yet you save us whenever we are in trouble. What's your problem?" Sayuri shouted. "Well, excuse me for not trying. After I saved you, I tried to talk to you guys a lot, but it was your family that always pushed me away. After that, I don't know what happened, but both of you became as you are. You started belittling me on every little thing. So don't blame me if I maintained my distance with you." Naruto shouted back. "We tried, believe me, we did. The only thing our dads allowed us to do was visit you in the hospital, and then it was over." Hinata said. "Don't make me laugh. Don't think I forgot what both of you said about me when I met with Aizen and Yakumo. Allow me to quote your words, Sayuri. Well, I thought he would be different considering he saved me, but I guess it was just wishful thinking. And you, Hinata, who said, and I quote, I think I understand why everyone calls him a demon. It's because only a demon can befriend a demon. Yeah, maybe your family asked you not to talk to me, but after that day at the academy I at least knew who my true friends were." Naruto replied, his voice laced with sadness. Both Sayuri and Hinata looked down. After a while Hinata said, "Both of us changed because you didn't pay us attention. Both of us became cold hard bitches because we thought that you liked strength in a girl. We trained as hard as we could and even changed our attitudes so that we could perform brutal moves." She was however cut off when Naruto pulled both of them into hugs and said, "I didn't want you to change. I would have understood if you followed what your families asked you to, but that day those words were your own. You couldn't expect me to stay the same after what you said. I will be willing to become your friend again, but that's as far as I will take it. I am reserving my heart for someone who deserves it. Now is that all?" he asked as he let them go. Both girls nodded sadly and were about to leave when Naruto said, "Listen, don't let me hold you back. Your lives are your own. Go make your own future. I will support you along the way as a friend as long as your decisions are just." Both girls nodded and then left the clearing. "That went rather well," came Itachi's voice from behind him. "I hope you didn't mind me being harsh on her." Naruto nervously said. "Not at all, she needed that. Hopefully she wakes up to become even better than she already is." Itachi knowingly said, making Naruto smile. The next morning. The next morning all the Konoha nins were seen sitting and waiting for breakfast. All except Naruto, who was helping Tsunami in cooking. When all of them had eaten, Kakashi cleared his throat and said, "Guys, Zabuza and Mangetsu are alive." "What?" screeched Sakura. "How can they be alive, sensei? The hunter nins took them." Mito said as she shivered a little in fear. "And that's exactly why they will be back. Normal hunter nin protocol is to cut the target's head as soon as possible and then burn the body. Since both the hunter nins took Zabuza and Mangetsu away, it is safe to presume that they were fake and were working with the two ex-swordsmen of the mist." Naruto explained. "How do you know all this, Dobi?" Kiba asked with a shocked look. "I read Kibble," Naruto said with a smirk as everyone else snickered at the nickname. "Also, I am guessing that they will call for backup since me and Itachi-sensei showed up. I think you should train the others until the fight, Kakashi-Nisan, Kushina-sama. Me and Itachi-sensei will be able to protect Tazuna in the meantime." Naruto said. "Yeah, that's right. However, another question comes to mind. Me, Itachi and Kushina-sama will be able to deal with Mangetsu, Zabuza and the backup they call, who will deal with their apprentices?" Kakashi asked. "I will deal with them," Naruto said. "Are you sure you will be able to handle both of them?" "They will at least be at Chunin level," Kushina said with a worried look on her face. I will be able to hold both of them off until the three of you are done if I go all out. Naruto said. What do you mean all out? Does that mean you have holding back in the academy? Hinata. Yeah, I didn't use my Kekai Genka at the academy, said Naruto. You have a Kekai Genka? Sayuri asked interestedly. Yes, it's called adamantine chains, Naruto said as he created 4 chains that came from his back. After a short pause, Kakashi clapped his hands and said, let's begin the training. Okay then, since Naruto will be guarding Tazuna, the 3 of us will be training you guys. Mito and Narumi, you'll go with Kushina-sama. Sayuri and Hinata, you'll be under Itachi, and finally Kiba and Sakura, you will be under me. Hopefully the 3 of you will be able to protect Tazuna from any attack that may happen during the fight that will happen 1 week from now, said Kakashi as he explained his training plan to the genins. After that, all of the genins left with their respective senseis to begin their training. With Kakashi. Alright then, we will start with you, Sakura. Over the past 3 months your physical conditioning and chakra reserves have exponentially grown. Because of that, we will now be focusing mainly on techniques. Here, this is a scroll that contains C to B rank genjutsus. I want you to learn them and be able to cast them quickly. After that, here is a scroll on some low-rank medical ninjutsu. Practice them, they actually may make a difference in the fight that will take place 10 days from now, Kakashi said as he handed Sakura 2 scrolls. Turning to Kiba, he said, Kiba, I know that your family does not really use that many ninjutsu, but for survival in this mission it is a necessary evil. This scroll has several C-rank Doden jutsu. I want you to start practicing them until you can perform all of them without a break. There are 2 offensive jutsus in this scroll and 3 defensive ones. I want you to start practicing. Now I will be leaving a clone to supervise both of you. I will going to the bridge to help guard Tazuna, Kakashi said as he handed Kiba his scroll. Both the genin nodded and started practicing as Kakashi left the clearing to head to the bridge. With Itachi. Both of you already know the necessary basic jutsus and are quite proficient in your clan moves. Am I correct? Itachi asked. Both of the genin nodded in confirmation, which prompted Itachi to continue as he said, well, I will be training you to improve your dojutsus. Which is why we won't be using them during our training. And our training will consist of me attacking and you guys dodging. Any questions? Just one. How will we improve our dojutsus if we don't even use them? Sayuri asked in an annoyed tone. She was still mad about last night. Her Uchiha pride was getting in the way of seeing past her mistake. Though Hinata, on the other hand, was faring better and her kind side was resurfacing again. Look at it this way, foolish little sister. If you hone your body and reflexes without your dojutsus, they automatically work better when you use them because you will be able to react to situations better and faster than your normal speed. Itachi explained. After seeing the nods of understanding from both the genins, Itachi took out a scroll and channeled a little chakra into it. It poofed and from it 8 bracklets appeared. He handed 4 to each of the 2 genin and said, these are chakra bracelets. I want you to wear them on your wrists and ankles and then channel your chakra into them, Itachi said, and then waited for both Sayuri and Hinata to do what he had tasked them to. As soon as the unsuspecting genin channeled their chakra, they were immediately brought on all fours with the drastic increase in weight. Both of them looked up and glared at Itachi, who was looking down on them with an amused expression on his face. Now then, stand up and get ready to dodge. The faster you move here, the more your muscles will develop and your speed will drastically increase when you remove the weights. I will start with high genin speeds and will gradually increase them over the week, Itachi said. And then he began the beat down with both the genin desperately trying and failing to dodge him. With Kushina. Okay then, Mito-chan, Narumi-chan, I will be teaching both of you 5 newer rank jutsus, one of which was your dad's original creation, the Rasengan. I want you both to make as many clones as you can and then go through these scrolls before practicing these jutsus, Kushina said. Kachin, can we ask Oni-chan for help with the Rasengan? Mito asked. Wait, you are telling me he knows the Rasengan? Kushina asked in a shocked tone. Yeah, and he has a real mastery over it as well. He told us that he has created almost 16 variations of the Rasengan. Narumi excitedly answered. Kushina was initially shocked, but that shock was soon replaced by an overwhelming sense of pride. She was so proud of what her son had achieved. He is just like you, Minato. I am so proud of him, and I am sure you would be proud of him as well. Kushina thought before she created a clone to supervise the twins, and she herself went to check on Naruto. She wanted to see him with Kakashi. Asterisk. Finally making his way to the bridge, he saw several Naruto clones helping in the building, whereas Naruto himself was sitting on one of the corners and was staring off in a distance. Making his way towards him, Kakashi asked, "How's it going?" "It's alright. The progress has been hastened thanks to my clones, other than that it was boring." "You tell me, how is the training going?" Naruto casually replied. "It's going well, to be honest. By the way, is there anything I can help you with in your training?" Kakashi asked. "Well, I could use a few lightning jutsus. I have completed level 2 manipulation of all 3 of my elements. Sensei has taught me water and wind jutsus, but we didn't have time to work on lightning jutsus yet." Naruto answered. "Well, it's your lucky day then. I have a lightning affinity and would be more than happy to teach you 2 lightning jutsus that I created on my own." Kakashi said. "Really, you let me copy your own creation?" Naruto asked in a shocked voice. "Yes, I would. You are Sensei's legacy. It is kind of my duty to teach you. I really wanted to have you as my apprentice, but the Council voted for me to teach Sayuri. Though if you are going to learn these jutsus, I need you to promise me one thing." Kakashi finished in a stern tone. "What is it, Kakashi-sensei?" Naruto curiously asked. "You are to never use these techniques against a comrade or a shinobi of the leaf. Do you promise?" Kakashi asked in a serious tone. "I promise, sensei. What you teach me will only be used to protect the village and nothing else." Naruto answered in an honest tone. Kakashi smiled and said, "Now look carefully," said Kakashi as he went through the hand signs. Ox, rabbit, monkey. As he finished, lightning chakra had suddenly concentrated on his palm. The sound of birds chirping could be heard. Naruto's eyes widened when he saw the complexity of that jutsu through his Sharingan. "This is Chidori, an A-rank assassination jutsu that is my personal creation. How do you like it?" Kakashi asked, amused as he saw Naruto's dumbfounded expression. "That's awesome, Kakashi-sensei. It's like the Rasengan," Naruto excitedly said. "That is right. I based this move on the Rasengan using pure lightning manipulation. Now look carefully for the second jutsu," said Kakashi as he went through the same hand signs, but instead of the normal Chidori, a sword made of pure lightning appeared. Naruto knew that this move was immensely more powerful than Chidori. "And this is an S-rank assassination jutsu, Reikiri, another one of my personal creations," Kakashi said. "Wow, Kakashi-sensei, you are a genius. Both these moves are amazing," Naruto said as he created 4 clones and sent them to practice both of the jutsus. "Sensei, there is something I need to talk to you about," said Naruto, his voice uncharacteristically serious. "What is it, Naruto?" Kakashi asked. "What would you do if your parent abandoned you and then came back to you asking for forgiveness?" Naruto asked. "It's about your mother, right? Naruto, I think you should forgive her. She needs you, Naruto. I know she made a mistake when she left you. But Naruto, you need to see that she had just given birth, had a demon literally ripped out of her, and lost her husband. She was mentally exhausted and was a human. Your reasoning is very much valid. She made a mistake, but she is trying very hard to repent, but now you are the one who is making the mistake. Don't hold on or repeat the past. Give your mother a chance before making a permanent decision that you may come to regret later on in your life," Kakashi said in a big brotherly voice. "But sensei, you don't know how I am feeling right now," Naruto answered through gritted teeth in a frustrated tone. "On contrary, I know exactly how you feel. Instead, I never had a second chance. My dad committed suicide when I 4. He abandoned me at the mercy of the world, but I never had the chance that you have the chance to get back with your family who genuinely want you back. Kakashi spoke in a emotionless tone. What happened next surprised Kakashi. Naruto stood up and tightly hugged him and said, I am sorry I was out of line. I am afraid that she will leave me again if I let her back in. Kakashi crouched down and hugged Naruto back and whispered, in life the only thing certain is death, before that every decision is one's own. I know there are times when the heart desires something but the doubt is still strong. It is at these moments that a person needs to take a leap of faith. That is what you need, Naruto. Give her a chance, she deserves it to say the least. Kakashi then got up and turned around and walked back to his students. It was then that Kushina appeared and walked up to Naruto and said, Naruto, how are you doing? Being the emotional mess he currently was, Naruto launched himself at Kushina and hugged her as he started sobbing. Kushina immediately hugged him back and started rocking him and spoke soothing words into his ear in an attempt to calm him down. What's wrong, Sochi? She worriedly asked. I am sorry, I have been an irrational jerk, I should have given you a chance to at least explain you did what you did. Naruto shakily replied. I am sorry too. I have no excuse for what I did that night. It was my worst mistake ever. I can only apologize to you. Please give me a chance, I will do everything I can to make it up to you. I am so sorry, she whispered back as tears began leaving her eyes as well. I forgive you, Kachin. Naruto stuttered as he continued crying. My Sochi, Kushina shouted before she started crying herself. Both of them stayed in each other's embrace for a while before they broke apart. After that, Kushina started touching Naruto and said, now stay still so that I can get a good look at you. Oh my god, you are a near carbon copy of Minato, you better be prepared for when you become older. You have countless girls coming after you. Kachin, stop it, you are embarrassing me. Naruto said as he tried to fight back a blush that was coming onto his cheeks. Kushina chuckled at his embarrassment and they both then started talking. Naruto told her all about his life, how he was kicked out and beaten from the orphanage, how he beat the Kumo Jonin, all about his training, his Kekai Genka and his very own spiral release. Needless to say, Kushina was ecstatic when she learned that her son was halfway through level 6 at ceiling and had also started learning the whirlpool sword style. She immediately offered to teach him in both of these fields, to which he immediately accepted. It was a chance for both of them to gain ground in each other's lives and then move on. They talked for a couple of hours, after which both of them along with Tazuna returned home. At home, all of the Genins noticed a change in Naruto. His smile felt more real and his eyes looked much brighter than their usual selves. The reason was soon revealed when Tsunami asked, what would you guys like for breakfast tomorrow? Both Kushina and Naruto shouted at the same time, ramen. Are you sure ramen isn't exactly a breakfast dish? Tsunami asked and almost instantly regretted it. Ramen is food fit for the gods, Dadbao, Databane. Both Kushina and Naruto answered at the same time before looking at each other in shock. Databane. Kushina questioned in shock. Dadbao. Naruto questioned back. Databane. Kushina exclaimed in happiness. Dadbao. Naruto exclaimed in the same way before both of them hugged each other. What just happened? Hinata asked the question which was in everyone's mind. Oh, it's a thing about Uzumakis. When they get into a phase of extreme emotions, they unknowingly speak an extra word which can be thought of as a verbal tic. Itachi calmly explained. Everyone nodded before they started eating. Naruto was making small talk with nearly everyone. Given the fact that he had mended his bridges, with Sayuri, Hinata, his mom, he had a lot of topics to talk about. Until. Why do you try? You will all die in the end. Gato is too strong. Inari, Tsunami's son, shouted. Maybe for you, kid, but for trained shinobi as he isn't even cow fodder. Naruto answered calmly. What would you know about pain? I bet you have all lived sheltered lives in that ninja village of yours. You don't know what suffering is, the young boy yelled back. Before anyone could defuse the situation, a potent ki was felt in the room. Naruto then looked at Inari, his eyes having a cold hard look in them, and he then spoke and said, "Tell me, have you ever to see your best friends die in front of you? Have you ever lost your family just because a family member of yours had become power hungry? Tell me, have you ever been beaten, almost raped? Tell me, have you ever been hated and scorned by the very village you have sworn to protect? Tell me, have you ever had to struggle to get food to survive? I had to scavenge food from the garbage for 6 months before my Gigi found me and got me my apartment. So tell me, brat, what the hell do you know about suffering?" Naruto shouted. He then removed his shirt, revealing a body full of scars. He then glared at the wide-eyed boy and said, "When you look like this, then you will have a right to complain about life. Until then, shut up and stop judging others." He then grabbed his shirt and said, "I will out in the forest, I need to lose some steam." Itachi nodded at that, giving him permission to go. Kushina wanted to follow him but was stopped by Kakashi, who just shook his head. "Sensei, I understand the reference about you and Sayuri-chan. But Naruto's life can't have been that bad, right? And those scars, they must have come through training. Right?" Sakura asked, her voice almost pleading for them to agree with her. The twins and Hinata seemed close to tears, and Kushina was mentally planning torture sessions for all those who hurt Naruto. "You are right in a way, Sakura, but what Naruto told you was actually a sugar-coated version of what happened. Me and Itachi were there when he got his scars. Believe me when I say that it was the worst condition I had ever seen of someone who was only 4 years old. He was nearly dead before we rescued him. Then something worse happened when he 6. His attackers didn't hit his vitals and beat him for the sole reason of breaking his mind. In this attack he was almost raped before the Hokage killed his assailants. But the worst thing is that the second attack had been ordered by the council, and the ones to carry it out had been the Hyuga." He finished in a sad tone, causing everyone to flinch. "That poor kid," Tsunami said as she brought her hands to her mouth. All the girl genins were now openly crying with tears streaming down their faces. Kiba felt bad for the way he treated Naruto when they were younger. He realized that Naruto was the real alpha. He had a never-give-up attitude and was immensely strong in Kiba's opinion. He made a mental vow to apologize and make it up to Naruto as soon as possible. Kushina, for her part, felt even worse than before. She indirectly held herself responsible for what Naruto had suffered and hoped that she could give him the comfort and unconditional love that he desperately needed in his life. No one ate dinner that night, all lost in thought about their enigmatic maelstrom. "How are you this strong? I crumbled under simple pressure, but you still stand after all that. Why don't you hate me? My family was involved in that attack." Hinata thought as she sobbed for the blonde. "Sochi, Nissan. I am sorry." The twins and Kushina thought. With Naruto. Naruto was seen punching the trees as hard as he could. After a while he stopped and screamed out in frustration. It was then that he was suddenly pulled into something and he lost his consciousness. The last thing that he remembered was his grandfather's words, "Rage is a dangerous emotion. If you let it take over you, you lose everything and may end up losing everything you have. So remember to always have a calm mind and to never be unjustly angry." After a while he regained his consciousness and felt 2 unknown presences near him. He immediately opened his eyes to see a boy and a girl around his age. The boy was wearing normal dress clothes, had white hair, blue eyes, and had a feral look on his face. The girl, on the other hand, had a cute face, brown eyes, brown hair, and was wearing a pink kimono. "So how can I help you?" Naruto asked. "Oh, we were just collecting some medicinal herbs when we found you. You should sleep outside, you may catch a cold." The girl said. "Ah, don't worry about me, I have never gotten a cold in my life. My name is Naruto, what's yours?" Naruto asked. "My name is Haku and he is Suigetsu. Are you a ninja?" The girl asked. "Yeah, I am, I kinda was training here before I fell asleep." "So how are Zabuza and Mangetsu?" Naruto casually asked, saw that both of his acquaintances had visibly tensed. "Relax, I am not going to tell anyone. I recognized your chakra signatures from back then. Naruto said. The girl relaxed whereas the boy still had his guard up. Naruto then said, so what's a girl like you doing traveling with a ninja like Zabuza? Zabuza-sama saved me when I was kid and has raised me since then. So I owe it to him. Oh, and by the way, I am a boy. Haku said. Please, I call bullshit. There is on way you are a boy. Why? 1. You are wearing pink. 2. You have a feminine figure and a cute face. And last but not the least, I can see the bandages around your chest area. Naruto replied with a scoff. The girl blushed red and screamed hentai whereas the boy just laughed. A flustered Haku was a very rare event to see and this blonde was capable of doing it quite easily. Naruto then stood up and said, well, I guess I will go now, see you guys in 8 days. I hope that we can become friends after all this is over. Both Suigetsu and Haku nodded at that as they watched Naruto leave. It had been 8 days since Naruto had met both Suigetsu and Haku. Right now all of the Konoha nin except Kiba were at the bridge. Kiba had stayed behind to protect Tazuna's family in case Gato's men tried anything funny. The bridge was enveloped by a thick mist. As soon as it appeared, Itachi looked at Naruto and said, Naruto, do it. Naruto, without any confirmation, weaved through a set of hands at a quick pace before shouting, wind style, ultimate great breakthrough. He fired a giant torrent of wind from his mouth. The gigantic torrent of wind immediately cleared the mist away. As soon the mist cleared Zabuza, Mangetsu, Haku, Suigetsu, and another shinobi who was wielding twin blades. So you guys finally showed. Kakashi said as he brought out his Sharingan. Itachi activated his eyes. Whereas Kushina released her chains and unsheathed her Kodachi. It's a rematch from last time with the same matchup. Itachi Uchiha, to even things out, I called an old acquaintance for help. Here is Raiga Kushimaru. Also this time our apprentices will be fighting. Zabuza sneered and said as he and his team got his stances. Before anyone could answer or move, Naruto clapped his hands and said, Kai. He was then covered by seals that all broke. Naruto then cracked his neck and looked at Haku and Suigetsu and said, so which one of you will be my opponent first? Haku stepped forward and pointed to a clearing at the right side of where they were standing. Nodding but not removing his eyes from Haku, both of them moved and began a stare-off. Suigetsu was then confronted by Sayuri and Hinata with the twins and Sakura guarding Tazuna. All the ninjas were staring at each other. The air was so tense that it could cut by a knife. In a blink of an eye, all 6 Jonins disappeared in a burst of speed, and the only thing that could be seen was 6 blurs flying around. Accompanied by sounds, metal clashing with metal. Kakashi vs. Zabuza. Asterisk. Kakashi was holding 2 kunai in reverse grips and was clashing against Zabuza. Kurokobachi. Zabuza was using his normal style of pure power, whereas Kakashi was countering him with his reflexes and the Sharingan. Kakashi, having the advantage in pace and prediction, had managed to get in a few cuts. It was then that both of them simultaneously managed to knock their weapons out of their hands. They then jumped back and created a little distance between each other. Damn it, ninjutsu is out, the only option I have is taijutsu. Thought Zabuza as he charged forward on the offensive. Not suspecting him to charge, Kakashi was hit by several of Zabuza's punches before he went on the defensive. This went on until Kakashi poofed of in smoke, surprising Zabuza, who did not turn around in time and was hit by a mighty haymaker which caused him to fly into a tree and then land with a thud. Kakashi quickly went through several hand signs and shouted, summoning jutsu. As soon as he said, several dogs appeared in puffs of smoke. Kakashi then said, hold him down while I finish him off. The Ninken nodded ANF, all of them bit Zabuza, holding him in place. While Kakashi was charging a Chidori. He was about to thrust it into Zabuza when Itachi vs. Raiga. Asterisk. Itachi and Raiga were clashing with swords. Raiga was using his twin Kiba blades, with Itachi countering the moves with his Tanto. Itachi then replaced himself with a clone and went through several hand signs at a lightning quick pace before shouting, fire style, great fireball jutsu. He fired a giant fireball from his mouth which Raiga saw and promptly dodged. He however failed to notice two clones sneak up on him. Both of the clones in one swift motion latched themselves on Raiga. As Raiga struggled to get free, Itachi made a ram sign and said, "Exploding clone jutsu." Both the clones exploded, leaving his immediate vicinity smoky. Itachi however was forced to dodge a couple of lightning streams that came toward him. Turning his attention around, he saw Raiga still standing. His clothes were in tatters, he had several burns and bleeding cuts, he was also breathing heavily, but he was still in fighting condition. "I would advise you to stop and give up. No matter how strong of an A rank you are, you can't defeat an S rank on your own," Itachi said in a monotone voice. "Hey, I don't really get into fights like these anymore. It is way too interesting to give up now," Raiga said as he crossed his blades at Itachi. "I see, then you leave me with no choice," Itachi said as his eyes morphed from the normal Sharingan into the Mangekyo Sharingan. Looking dead into Raiga's eyes, Itachi muttered, "Tsukuyomi." After 3 seconds, Raiga dropped down on the floor exhausted. Itachi sighed and turned his Sharingan off before he rubbed them to reduce the irritation in them. He was then about to kill Raiga when Kushina vs. Mangetsu. Kushina and Mangetsu were both firing a wide variety jutsus at each other and were waiting for an opening to land a finishing. Unbeknownst to Mangetsu, he was playing directly into Kushina's trap. Before they had started clashing, Kushina had created several seal-less clones and had hanged them into different materials so that they could fit in with the surroundings. The clones were busy getting a sealing array ready. As soon as it was ready, Kushina released her chains and deflected Mangetsu's incoming water dragon, before immediately firing a water vortex jutsu at him. Being an S-rank ninja, Mangetsu easily dodged Kushina's attack but failed to see that the place he had landed was a sealing array. Kushina smirked at that and brought up a one-handed ram and said, "Uzumaki-style 7-point seal, Fuin." As soon as she said that Mangetsu was trapped, he wasn't able to move even an inch of his body. Sighing, Mangetsu looked at her and said, "It seems you win, Benihime. It was a good fight." "Damn right it was, Databane," Kushina said with a wink which caused Mangetsu to blush a little. Something Kushina was too oblivious to notice. With Suigetsu, Sayuri and Hinata. Suigetsu charged forward and attacked both the girls at once. He made a downward swipe with his sword which was intercepted by two kunai. Courtesy of Sayuri, she managed to keep Suigetsu locked in his place while Hinata got behind him and shouted, 8 trigrams 32 palms. Hinata in one quick motion hit 32 of Suigetsu's chakra points, shutting them down and temporarily blocked them. He became paralyzed for a moment which Sayuri fully utilized and immediately tied Suigetsu with a ninja wire. He sighed a little bit and said, "What a bummer." Sayuri looked a little shocked and said, "Is killing a game for you?" "No. Our senseis may kill, but me and Haku avoid it if we can. I was just going to knock you both out before helping Haku with Naruto," Suigetsu nonchalantly replied. He then looked at Hinata and said, "You really are good. What's your name?" "HMMPH, I am Hinata Hyuga of the great Hyuga clan." She put up her act of arrogance. "Hinata-ka, that's a cute name. My name is Suigetsu, but you can call me Sui-kun," he said with a wink. Hinata blushed slightly before looking away while Suigetsu smirked victoriously. Sayuri just looked on a little confusedly. What was happening here, she incredulously thought. However, her thoughts were interrupted when Naruto vs. Haku. You know we should NT fight. I know for a fact that Gato and his thugs will try to overwhelm us when all of us are weakened, Naruto said. How do you know that Gato is coming? Haku asked as she narrowed her eyes suspiciously. I am a sensory nin. I sensed a large number of civilian signatures coming from the direction you guys just came from. That's how, Naruto casually replied. How long until they get here? Haku asked. They should be here in 10 minutes. While we wait, why don't you tell me about yourself? Naruto asked. Very well. I was originally from Kiri. Suddenly they started something called a bloodline purge. The Yondaime Mizukage thought and convinced most of the population that people with bloodlines were actually demons themselves, hence beginning the purge. When I was 5, I activated my Hyoten bloodline. I was excited and quickly showed it to my mom. She quickly told me to turn it off and to never tell anyone about it. However, my father saw it and killed my mom. He almost killed me, but I escaped. I stayed on the streets for a year, after which Zabuza found me and took me in. That's my life story. Would you like to share yours? Haku said. I guess I will. I am the Junchuriki of the Kyuubi's soul. Due to lack of knowledge on seals, everyone thought that I was the demon reincarnate. Because of this, I became the village pariah. Shopkeepers would overcharge me and sell me expired products. No one would ever talk to me. And most of all, I was beaten to a near-death state nearly every year on my birthday. That was until Gigi found me and placed me in the academy and got me my own place. He also introduced me to several shopkeepers who did not have a bias against me. I was happy. Then when I graduated, I learned that I had a family, 2 sisters. They are those 2 adorable redheads guarding Tazuna. I grew even happier. Now I will say I am satisfied with my life. Naruto replied. Haku was about to reply when the sounds of marching was heard. All of the shinobi turned to look at the source, which was a small army of bandits, nearly 200 being led by Gato. So you failed, huh? That's good, now I can kill all of you at once. Men kill them all except the girls, they could be worth good money. Especially the red-headed ones, they look delicious. Gato said with a perverted leer. All of the ninjas were now standing together to fight the bandits. Given the level they were on, 5 Jonins could easily take on and kill mere bandits no matter what number. However, before either side could move, the whole area was engulfed in a very potent killing intent. It froze all the bandits in place, caused all the Genins to collapse on their knees, while the Jonins remained unaffected. Turning around, they saw that Naruto was the one emitting the killing intent. Naruto removed the seal on his eyes and activated his Sharingan, chakra chains, and unsheathed his sword. His overall appearance could now be described as intimidating. Turning to the Jonins, he said, I will take care of this, don't interfere. All of them nodded and stepped back. Gato laughed and said, Kid, you must be a fool to think you can take on 200 men alone. Naruto didn't answer. He held up his left hand and did some one-handed seals, causing the area around the bandits to be covered with mist. This surprised the genin, and the rogue mist nins, but no one spoke at that moment. Naruto then disappeared in a burst of speed, and soon the area was filled with cries of pain, shouts for mercy, and sounds of blood splashing on the ground. Everyone waited with bated breath to see what was happening. Kakashi, Itachi and Kushina were hoping that Naruto didn't kill anyone, as the number of kills would be too high to handle for a 12-year-old. Soon the mist cleared away and everyone saw all the bandits on the ground dead, bleeding, with some missing a limb or two. Naruto, on the other hand, was covered with blood and was standing in front of Gato with a look of pure hatred on his face. Before he could kill him, sounds of footsteps could be heard. Turning around, everyone saw Kiba leading the villagers. All of them had a weapon in their hands. It was then that Inari shouted, Naruto Nisan, we are here. I took your advice and finally did something about it. Naruto chuckled and wrapped his chains around Gato, lifting him into the air and then tossing him right in front of the villagers and saying, do what you want with him. The villagers roared in approval before dragging Gato away. He was going to pay for all of his crimes today. When everyone left, Naruto looked around and paled. He was surrounded by dead bodies of people he killed. He ran to a bush and puked before he started hyperventilating. Seeing this, Kushina and the twins ran towards him. Kushina immediately wrapped him into a hug and was rocking him soothingly, with the girls looking on with looks of worry on their faces. That must have been rough on the kid. Normally there is 1 kill at your first time, not 200. Mangetsu said. I agree, it looks like the kid is having a panic attack, but you can't deny he has skill. Zabuza said. Itachi and Kakashi didn't say anything, they merely looked on in worry. The rest of the genin all were having different thoughts. I should ask him how he became this strong, it will help me beat Itachi. Sayuri thought. Damn, no doubts now, he is the alpha, he killed everyone who dared threaten his pack. Kiba thought. Naruto, you really are a hero. I am sorry that I treated you badly without knowing the real you. Looking at you, this must have been very hard on you. Thought Sakura. Naruto. Hinata sadly thought. He is truly strong if he is able to go through those lengths to protect his precious ones. Haku thought, whereas Suigetsu kept an impassive look on his face. Turning to Mangetsu, Itachi asked, what will you guys be doing now? Me, Zabuza and Raiga will be joining the rebels in the Kiri civil war. We haven't decided on where to drop of the kids. We don't want them to see war so soon. Mangetsu replied. How about you send them with us to Konoha, they can become Naruto's genin teammates. Since they aren't listed as shinobi, they can't be classified as missing nin, Kakashi said. No, that's not gonna happen. I decided against leaving the kids behind. Even if it's a civil war, the only way I fight is if Haku is protected, so I will take her with me. Zabuza said. In that case, it seems that Suigetsu will be leaving with me as well. Said Mangetsu as he and Zabuza motioned their apprentices to follow them, and then they left. Back with Naruto, he had finally calmed down in his mother's embrace. He looked at her and quietly said, I am a monster, I killed them. Kushina looked at him and firmly said, listen to me, Sochi, you aren't a monster. Those men would have harmed your sisters if they got their hands on them. Not that they could have achieved that since I trained them so well. But you need to know that you did the right thing protecting your family. Naruto looked at her with a grateful look in his eyes before he asked, does it get any easier? It does over time, but one must never enjoy killing. As long as you try and avoid it and don't enjoy killing, you are fine and human, not a monster. Kushina said. Naruto gave a thankful nod before he fell asleep in Kushina's motherly embrace. She picked him up and the family of four started returning home. Kachin, will Nichin be okay? Mito asked worriedly. Yes, he will be fine, he is just tired and needs a little sleep. Kushina replied. Nay Mito, remember when you asked you will protect Nichin? I thought about it and decided that we will protect Nichan in change. Datbasa. Narumi said, to which Mito nodded before both of them exclaimed their verbal tick loudly as they punched the air. Kushina and the others chuckled at them before they all returned to Tazuna's home. Timeskip 1 week later. After a week the bridge had been completed. Naruto was being hailed as the hero of the wave as he single-handedly beat Gato and his bandits. The pure look of joy and gratitude in the eyes of the people convinced Naruto that what he did was right. He then made a vow to never make an unnecessary kill, but that didn't mean he wouldn't if there was no other choice. Naruto also found that he now had a fan club in the wave. It was because of this that he mostly hid in Tazuna's house for the remainder of their stay at the wave. Currently the Konoha nin were at the gates bidding the villagers goodbye. Promise you will come visit again, Nisan. Inari said to Naruto. The young boy was trying his hardest to hold back his tears. Naruto smiled at the boy and bent down and hugged the boy. He then said, "Ya know it's okay to cry tears of joy and don't worry, I will definitely visit you." The boy then broke into tears and hugged Naruto tightly. Naruto then rubbed his back slowly, soothing the boy before he stood up. He along with the group turned to leave. As they were leaving, Naruto's fangirls appeared and they shouted, "Naruto-sama, don't leave, give us your babies." Needless to say that Kushina and the twins had to be held back to ensure that they didn't rip those girls to pieces. As they walked into the distance, Tazuna turned to the villagers and said, "What should we name the bridge?" "I think the Great Tazuna Bridge sounds good, don't you think so?" "No," came the collective response of all the villagers. "Then what?" Tazuna asked with a sigh. Inari thought for a while before saying, "The Great Naruto Bridge." Everyone agreed to this and soon the bridge was named as the Great Naruto Bridge, with a plan to set up a statue to commemorate their hero. It had been 3 months since the mission to the Wave Country. Naruto was now nearing the level of High Chunin. Thanks to the help of his mother, his training in seals and kenjutsu had progressed very rapidly. He was now a level 7 seals master and had mastered 25% of katas for both Itoryu and swirl style. He and his mother had also devised and installed privacy and security seals around his home and training ground, keeping out prying eyes and some other interested individuals. The highlight of the 3 months would have to be when Naruto used a premature version of his father's Flying Thunder God technique. He knew it was the right technique. How? He teleported as soon as he threw his own 3-prong kunai. It was premature. Why? Because it automatically activated the teleport, and he couldn't control it, and 2, it cost him way too much chakra to pull of. Because of that, he decided not to use the technique until he reached the higher subtleties of the Hiroshin seal. He had been working on it and his father's space-time absorption barrier for almost 4 years now. He estimated that both moves were around 25% complete. He sighed as he felt that they were going way too slowly. But he quickly reminded himself that his father was a sealing genius. His seals were based of his blood and only those who were directly related to him could use them. It was because of this that both Kushina and Jiraiya weren't able to master his seals despite both of them being seal masters in their own rights. This thought made him smile. He knew that both of these moves were steps to getting closer to his father spiritually. He couldn't wait to one day show his dad that he had mastered both of his signature techniques. Since Gigi said his dad was watching him from heaven, he would be the first person to know of his accomplishment. Over the past 3 months, Naruto had performed 15 C-rank missions, 8 B-rank mission and 2 A ranks. His record in missions was near flawless. The reports also put the things in his favor as they mentioned Naruto sticking to his superior's order and carrying out all the orders he got with minimal work. It also mentioned that was capable of adapting and changing the plan on the field to ensure the success of the mission without risking lives. Both Makoto and Kushina had been quick to reprimand Naruto and Itachi for going on a ranks. Both of them did the smart thing and shut up, taking in all of the scolding. After that, both Makoto and Kushina gushed at Naruto, saying that despite his recklessness they were proud of him and was a great shinobi. Mito, Narumi and Hinata had been progressing greatly under Kushina's tutelage and were all mid-Chunin level. They had gone on 8 C ranks missions in the past 3 months, and after watching Naruto's skill with seals they had taken an interest themselves and were halfway through level 1. Kushina was very pleased when they asked her help, which she happily provided. Even Sayuri, Kiba and Sakura had progressed greatly. Sayuri, thanks to her Sharingan, was taking in jutsus like a dry sponge to water. Kiba had dropped a little of his pride and had started learning a couple more taijutsu styles along with learning at least one new jutsu a month. Sakura had improved the most of this group. She had focused on being the long-range support in the team. Thanks to her impeccable chakra control and growing reserves, she had become a genjutsu prodigy in her own right and was fairly skilled in medical ninjutsu. Overall, Sayuri was mid-Chunin level, Kiba was low Chunin and Sakura was high Genin. It wasn't just them, the other rookies had progressed a lot under their senseis. Yakumo under Kurenai had finally met her true potential and could successfully hold solid genjutsus for a good while. Shino had taken up a little of both Tai and ninjutsu so as to be able to hold his ground when faced with unfavorable circumstances. Aizen was the strongest member of his team. His skill with his family's taijutsu and bojutsu was second to none in his age, and he was the only boy in the rookies who could face up to Naruto at full power. His skill with both fire and earth made him all the more formidable. He was bordering high Chunin level, with Yakumo and Shino both being low Chunin level. The only team with 2 high Genins and 1 low Genin were Team Asuma. The main reason was the inherited laziness this team had, and no matter what the sensei did he was unable to bring them out of it. All except of Ino, who despite being energetic didn't train and worked more on impressing boys than training to improve her skills as a shinobi. Currently we see Naruto walking in the streets towards a bridge. Itachi had called him there to tell him about something important. Soon he reached his destination where he found Team 11 to be waiting. Upon seeing him both his sisters barreled into him while shouting, "Onachan." Unable to contain the force, he fell back down with both of them on his side. He chuckled before hugging them back and patting their heads. That was uncool, pftt, what an idiot. I wonder if a person could die like that. Thought three pairs of eyes as they looked on to the scene in front of them. They were far away, hoping not to be spotted. However, Naruto sat up and looked over in their direction with a serious look on his face. It only happened for a second before he turned away and put on a smile again. This elicited surprised thoughts from the group of three again. He knows we are here, how did he spot us from over there? He is skilled much more than others we have seen here. The group of three thought. Soon, however, both Kushina and Itachi appeared. So sensei, what did you call us for? Naruto asked the question all the genins had in their mind. As you know, the Chunin exams are coming up. And Kushina-sama and I have decided to recommend you for the exams. Naruto, you are a special case. You will take the exam solo as you do not have a team. Itachi explained as he handed the genin their forms. This is amazing, we can finally prove we are strong. Mito exclaimed with Narumi and Hinata nodding in agreement. Naruto chuckled at his sister's enthusiasm, which caused all three of them to glare at him. Ni-chan, what's so funny? Mito asked in a very sweet voice. Sweating a little, Naruto quickly replied and said, "Oh, it was funny when you said you wanted to prove your strength, but you have already proved it with your mission record." Mito smiled and nodded before she began talking to her friends again. This time Kushina spoke and said, "If you want to take the exams, fill in those forms and submit them into the academy by Friday." Now Mito, Narumi, let's go home. You want to come, Naruto? Over the months she had tried to get Naruto to stay with them, but he rejected the notion, saying he was used to living alone and being independent. Kushina had reluctantly agreed only after Naruto agreed that he would eat with them at least twice a week. Not today, I have some things to do today, Naruto said as he pocketed his form and left, with the three figures fast on his tail. As he was walking, he noticed a square rock with two perfectly shaped eye holes following him. He chuckled as he knew exactly who it was. He cast a sideways glance to the trio following him, letting them know that he was very much aware of their presence and would not hesitate to retaliate if they tried anything. He turned around and said, "All right, you three, that's enough, come out now." The rock disappeared in the puff of smoke and our very own Konohamaru Corps revealed themselves. "Hey boss, how are you? We haven't seen you in months," Konohamaru said. "Aw, sorry little bro, I had to go on a lot of missions outside the village. In fact, I just got home from my last mission yesterday," Naruto said. "Boss, you are amazing. You are already performing missions outside the village despite being a fresh out of the academy genin," Udon said with stars in his eyes. "Hey, now you are embarrassing me. How about this? Since I am free today, I will spend the entire day with you. Maybe even cook you something. How does that sound?" Naruto said with a grin, knowing the response he would get. "All right, let's play ninja first." The three of them shouted and ran off. Chuckling, Naruto set off and quickly found both Moegi and Udon. He was on his way when he heard Konohamaru scream, "Let me go." Not wasting any time, Naruto rushed to the source at top speed and found Konohamaru being held from the collar by the ugliest girl he had ever seen. She was wearing a cat-like outfit and had a lot of makeup on. On the girl's side was another girl who had blonde pigtails and was quite the looker. Both of them were wearing the Suna headband. Naruto then said, "Excuse me miss, can you please let my friend go?" He said as the blonde girl started chuckling whereas his three tailors were snickering. "I am a boy, you idiot. And no, he bumped into me. I won't let him go until I teach him a lesson," the cat boy said. He reared his fist back and was about to strike Konohamaru when he felt metal near his throat. Looking back, he was shocked to find Naruto behind him. He had a battle-hardened look in his eyes which promised the cat-like boy unimaginable pain. The blonde-haired girl was about to act to help her teammate, but she found a clone holding a sword to her throat. Who the hell is this guy? I didn't even see him move or make any hand signs. Both the Suna Nin thought. It is so cool, this guy is a monster. How is he still a genin? I wonder if I have to fight him he will kill me. The three nin tailing Naruto thought. I wasn't asking you, cat makeup clown. Let me rephrase what I said. Drop the kid or your head leaves your shoulder. Naruto said in a cold voice. It caused the cat-like boy to wince and he readily let go of Konohamaru, who ran off after thanking Naruto. Naruto then shushined back to the front and said, I take it you are here for the Chunin exams, so I would advise you to take your partner from the tree and head back to your hotel before you cause an international incident. Both of the Suna Nin's eyes widened as they turned to look at the tree which Naruto had mentioned, to see a red head with a gourd look at them impassively. Gee Gaara, we were just. The cat-like boy started but was cut off when the red-headed boy disappeared in a sand shusen, reappearing in front of the two. He said, Konkuro, Tamari, you are disgrace, stop it. But Gaara, they started it. Konkuro tried to argue. You are annoying, shut up or I will kill you. Gaara said in a voice which promised death. Gaara then turned and said to Naruto, forgive my teammates, I will ensure they stay in line. May I know your name? Naruto Uzumaki. Yours? Naruto asked back. Gaara no Subaku. We shall meet in the Chunin exams. Naruto Uzumaki. Mother finds your blood interesting. Gaara said as he turned around and led his teammates away. Naruto sighed before turning to his side and said, so how long do you three intend to play cat? As soon as he said that, three figures jumped out and landed in front of him. One was a girl with tan face. She had fiery red hair with earrings on her ears. She also had a sword strapped on her back. The next was a tan boy with white hair. He had a lollipop in his mouth and had a bored expression on his face. As soon as he saw the third figure, he felt his breath leaving him. Standing in front of him was the prettiest girl he had ever seen. She was blonde with mid-back length hair. She had beautiful bluish-green eyes. She had a decent C-cup bust which for her age was very developed. As much as he tried, he couldn't stop himself from directly looking at her and saying, beautiful. She herself was looking at Naruto and couldn't help but think, handsome. The blonde-haired girl caught his look and what he said. She blushed slightly but didn't say anything. Naruto then shook his head and said, who are you guys and why are you following me? We are here for the Chunin exams and you are the strongest competitor, so it's obvious we would try to gain information on our obstacles. The red-headed girl answered. That sounds fair. What are your names? Mine's Naruto Uzumaki. Naruto asked. Samui. The blonde girl answered. Karui. The red-head answered. Omoi. The white-head answered. Wow, your names totally rhyme, so what are you guys up to? Naruto asked. Well, we decided to explore the village but got lost and then we saw you and decided to spy on you. Now that we have admitted, you will report us to the authorities. They will arrest us and then the Raikage will be forced to pay our ransom. Because of this mistake we will be stripped of our shinobi license and be banished. Omoi said as he ranted on before he got hit on the head by Karui, who shouted. Shut up, you idiot. Karui, don't take out your anger on being a flat chest on me, Omoi retorted back. After which Karui punched him into the ground. Naruto's sweat dropped at the scene and turned to Samui and asked, are they always like this? Pretty much. She replied with a nod. You wanna go eat somewhere? He asked her, hoping she would agree. No, we will return to our hotel. Goodbye, said Samui as she signaled her teammates to follow her. He was so pretty cute, thought Naruto and Samui respectively as they moved back towards their lodgings. Time skip. Day of the exam. Asterisk. Naruto was walking toward the academy for the first part of the exam. As he turned the last corner, he saw Team 7 entering the building. He shrugged and entered. After climbing the first 2 flights of stairs, he saw several candidates were attempting to get past a door, but were being stopped. Turning on his Sharingan, he saw that it was a genjutsu and realized it must have been set up to weed out the weaklings. Nodding to himself, he climbed the rest of the stairs and entered the real exam room, which only had the team from Suna and the team from Kumo. As soon as he entered, both Samui and his eyes met before they both blushed and looked away. Going into one of the corners, he leaned back on the wall and closed his eyes. There were still 2 hours left for the test to begin. He, however, was wondering why his sisters weren't here. They could easily have seen through a genjutsu thanks to the Byakugan. He then realized that they must have been waiting for Team 6. Nodding to himself, he decided to train his sensor abilities to the next level and read the feelings that others had at a certain moment. He felt boredom come from Omoi, excitement from Karui, and finally what surprised him was confusion from Samui. Her chakra felt conflicted, as if she was going through an internal war. Shrugging, he turned his attention to the Suna team. Kankuro felt confident and excited, Tamari was confident, and Gaara. As soon as Naruto felt Gaara, he went on high alert. This was not your average genin. The amount of bloodlust his chakra was oozing was unreal. He decided to inform the authorities as soon as he could so as to avoid any unnecessary life loss during the exams. As time went by, the teams entered the hall until 5 minutes before the exam. The rest of the rookies entered. Kiba looked around and after spotting the rookies, he loudly exclaimed, "Well, looky here, all of the rookie 13 made it. We are going to kick some major ass." As he said that, all the other genins turned to glare at the group. Ino was shaking under the ki, whereas the others looked impassive. Suddenly a boy having silver hair, in a ponytail hairstyle, appeared. He was wearing circle-shaped glasses as well. "You should probably quieten down, you don't want to paint a target on your back," said a tall boy with silver hair and circular glasses that looked 2 or 3 years older than the rookie genin. "Who are you?" said Naruto, wary of the new arrival. "Oh, I'm sorry, my name is Kabuto, and seeing as you're a rookie genin, I assumed you could use some information on the exams. I myself have taken them 7 times, Kabuto finished. This turned on the warning bells inside Naruto's brain. He had studied Kabuto's chakra. The control and amount was equal to that of an elite jonin. Why was he still a genin? "Wow, 7 times, you must really suck," said Kiba. "Well, that or the exams could be a lot harder than they appear," the spectacle-wearing genin said. "Whatever, me and Akamaru are going to the finals, isn't that right, boy?" the Inuzuka said, getting a bark in agreement from the puppy in his jacket. "Anyway, I have these info cards. They have information on all the teams and even the individual members," said Kabuto. "Okay then, Rock Lee," said Sayuri. "Sabaku no Gaara," said Naruto. "Uzumaki Naruto, even though it's troublesome to ask," finished Shikamaru. "Oh, you know their names well, that's not hard then, let's see. Rock Lee, here we go. It says here he has no skill in nin or genjutsu because he has a disease which has led to underdeveloped chakra coils. But his taijutsu is off the charts. Team members are Hyuga Neji and Tenten, and his sensei is Mighty Guy. He's done 42 D ranks and 35 C rank missions," Kabuto said before shuffling his cards. "Okay, next is Subaku no Gaara. Well, this is a shock. I have really little on him. All I can tell you is he has done 12 D ranks, 52 C ranks and 1 B rank mission and has never been injured," the silver-haired ninja informed the Konoha rookies. This shocked several of the rookies at thought of going on all those missions and never picking up a single injury. Now Naruto Uzumaki. Wow, his stats are of the charts. He has performed 0 D ranks, 27 C ranks, 8 ranks and 3 A ranks. He is exceptional in Fuinjutsu, Ninjutsu and Taijutsu. His chakra control is so good it is said that he has created 16 plus jutsus based on chakra control alone. He is very efficient in using his Kekai Genka, the adamantine chains. In the past few months he has taken up Kenjutsu and has progressed quite well in the field. Overall, I would say that he should be avoided at all costs during these exams," Kabuto said. Naruto narrowed his eyes. The information that Kabuto was only accessible to elite jonin or the Hokage. Him having this information along with the fact that this was his 7th time taking the exam when he was easily Jonin level pointed to the fact that he was spy. For whom that was a question for another time. Kiba looked at Naruto in shock and shouted, I knew you were strong, but when did you go a ranks? Shut up Kiba, you are way too loud, but if you must know, the last month was when me and my sensei performed 3A ranks before coming back home. Naruto said as he placed a trap for Kabuto. If Kabuto interjected now, it would confirm that he was a spy. Hey, that's not right, my information says you went on 2A ranks last month. Kabuto said, unknowingly confirming Naruto's theory. Hey, that was me just trying to look cool. Naruto said as he showed his tongue. The only person who saw through him was Aizen. Despite being a loudmouth, he was Naruto's best friend and the second strongest of their generation. The time they had spent together made both of them know exactly what the other was thinking. Naruto subtly made hand signs and informed Aizen of his suspicions. Aizen made an unnoticeable nod, confirming that he felt the same. Before anyone could say anything, a puff of smoke appeared in the room, and from it a Jonin revealed himself. He was a tall man with a scared face and a purple bandana on his head. Naruto, for some unknown reason, wanted to call him Bandana Man. The man spoke and said, My name is Ibiki Morino and I will be the proctor for the first exam. Get on your allocated seat number and we will begin. Alright maggots, sit down, it's time for the first exam, came a voice as a large man with scars all over his face walked in and stood behind the desk. My name is Ibiki Morino, and I will be the proctor for the first test. You will have 1 hour to answer the 10 questions. You will not be given the final question until the final 10 minutes. If you are caught cheating for a total of 5 times, you and your team will be disqualified. That said, you can use whatever jutsu or abilities you want to get the answers. You begin now. He finished and sat down and smirked at the looks of horror on the Genin's face when they saw the questions. Naruto's eyes widened looking at the questions in front. They were easily Jonin level. No Genin except Shikamaru could solve them. And that was because of his insane intelligence. Suddenly a look of realization dawned on Naruto's face. It's a test to gather information. He said we could use any tool needed to gain the information. So we need to cheat in an undetectable way. Smirking to himself, he closed his eyes and started focusing on the chakras around him. They were all anxious, worried, confused and afraid. Except for 2 signatures. Naruto then focused before he found one of them. Said ninja was sitting in front of him. Those 2 must have been planted as information beacons for the other Genins to use. Naruto thought as he activated his Sharingan and copied the writing pattern of the Jonin sitting in front of him. In mere minutes he was finished. He turned his paper around and started looking at how the other rookies were doing. Sayuri, like him, had used her Sharingan to copy the writing of someone who was fluently writing. Hinata was using her Byakugan to spot and write the answers she could find in the room. Shino was using his bugs to find the answers. Sakura, thanks to her reading habits, had answered most of the questions correctly. Ino had used her clan's mind transfer jutsu to take over Sakura and then read her answers. Shikamaru already knew them and used his shadow connecting jutsu to help Choji. Yakumo had used a mirror-like genjutsu only visible to her to find the answers. Naruto then turned to look at his sisters and best friend. He wasn't surprised when he found all 3 of the sweating. Sighing, he summoned 3 small toads. He supplied them with the answers and sent one each to Narumi, Mito and Aizen. After a few minutes the toads disappeared. Naruto looked at Aizen, who grinned at him. Grinning back, they had a mental conversation. Thanks. Anytime. Turning his attention to his sisters, he saw them crying anime tears. He already knew the reason for that. It was because he had promised to cook for them if they took their theoretical study seriously. He knew they tried, but somehow, thanks to the dominant Uzumaki genes, they weren't able to just sit and read. He himself knew that the threat he had given them was an empty one. His sisters had a soft spot in his heart. Which was why he decided he would cook them ramen as a good effort for at least trying. He chuckled as he remembered his sisters' antics. He then focused on the Suna and Kumo teams. He saw that the Catboy Konkoro had used a puppet of his to get the answers for him. Gaara had created a third eye out of his sand and had sent it around the room spotting answers. Tamari had used a little burst of wind to replace her test with one that had all the answers done. Naruto was surprised when he saw the coordination being displayed by the Kumo team. Samui was writing the answers on small paper pieces before discreetly passing to Omoi, who after noting the answers sent it towards Karui disguised as a lollipop. After he was done observing, he suddenly turned unnaturally serious and met Ibiki's eyes. He then made some discreet signs with his fingers towards Ibiki. Ibiki became shocked when he saw the hand signs. Those were used by ANB used to send messages in the group without alerting the enemy. He then paid attention to what the message was saying. Kabuto Yakushi is Orochimaru's spy. He told Ibiki through hand signs. Ibiki's eyes widened before he hardened them and discreetly used his fingers to say, "Are you sure?" Positive. He has information that should only be accessible to those with Jonin level clearance. And he has a distinct scent of snakes on him. Naruto replied. Nodding, Ibiki discreetly signaled the Anbu to be on guard. He decided to take this information to the Hokage as soon as the test was over. He then looked at Naruto, who nodded and leaned back in his seat, closing his eyes. Ibiki looked at Naruto before a look of recognition dawned in his eyes. So that's Itachi's brat. It seems like he is as good as they say. Ibiki thought before giving wry smile at the irony of the situation. The test was to gather information in a tight position, but somehow the kid had secured information that could potentially save the village. Life sure is ironic, Minato. You beat Orochimaru for the seat and now your son is screwing up Orochimaru's plan. Ibiki thought as he remembered his old teammate and friend. After 45 minutes, Ibiki shouted and said, "All right, maggots, your time is up. Now it's time for the 10th question. You have a choice on whether you wish to take it or not." "Of course we will take it," a random genin shouted back. Ibiki smirked and said, "Well, if you answer the question wrong, you won't be able to take the exams again in your career. And if one of your team members gives up, the whole team fails but can always take the test again. So decide." "You can't do that," Kiba shouted. "Of course I can. In these exams I am the god. My word goes on whether your sorry asses pass or not." Ibiki replied back. "But there are so many people who have taken this exam more than once." Karui shouted. "Well, tough luck to be you guys. Now you decide whether you will take the question or not." Ibiki replied with a smirk. Suddenly the tension in the room skyrocketed. Genins from nearly all the teams could be seen sweating, with a few hyperventilating. A few moments later, several hands went up into the air and several teams left the room. The tension in the room was affecting everyone except Naruto. He was simply laying back in his seat with his eyes closed. The sight of him relaxed infuriated Ibiki a little. He was used to people quivering in his presence. Someone this relaxed was something unnerving even to him. "You blondie, you think you can take the question?" Ibiki yelled as he pointed at Naruto. "Sure, why not?" Naruto lazily replied back. "Are you ready for the consequences in TJE case that you fail?" Ibiki said, trying to darken Naruto with self-doubt. "Nah, not really. Even if I am a permanent genin, my dream won't be affected. After all, if I become the strongest ninja in the village, I will be bound to become the Hokage." Naruto casually replied with a smirk, letting Ibiki know that his attempts had been foiled. Ibiki looked around the room and saw that no one else was really leaving, so he sighed and said, "Everyone who stayed, passes." After a few seconds, a combined shout of, "What?" rang out in the classroom as Ibiki began to explain the true purpose of the test. The real purpose of the first 9 questions was to see how good your information gathering was. You will be given missions as Chunin that require you to collect information in very unfavorable and taxing conditions. The 9 questions were used to judge how you gathered and relayed that information. Ibiki said. "What about the 10th question?" Samui asked. "Yo, bandana man, mind if I answer this one?" Naruto lazily asked. Ibiki's eyes twitched at the nickname before he stiffly nodded and Naruto said, the choice to take the 10th question was the real question. In our lives as ninja there will instances of missions with high loss probability. There is a high risk of being caught or killed. In that moment we can't decide whether to take the mission or not. So we should always be ready to take risks. Ain't that right, Bandana Man? He is correct, however. Removes bandana revealing a scarred head, one should be mentally strong. If you are caught by enemy shinobis they will torture you to the bone to find information. You must remember to keep the village ahead of yourself at all times so that you don't give away any information. Ibiki answered as he elicted gasps from the class who greatly became unnerved by the sight of the scars. Naruto however wasn't affected as his own body was a beacon of scars that he always watched before leaving. Before anyone could reply a purple blur jumped in the room and broke the window. In a puff of smoke a large sign appeared which read, Proctor for the second exam, the sexy and the single Anko Mitarashi. All the girls except Samui were looking on envy at Anko beauty while the boys except Naruto were drooling. Naruto then quickly wrote a 9 on paper over the message, You rock Anko Nichan. Looking at the score Anko gave a fake hurt look and said, Ah Gaki that was surely a 10. You hurt Nei-chan's feelings. Nichan that point got knocked off because you were early. And don't sell yourself short, a 9 is amazing. Naruto replied looking at his crazy older sister of a figure who had trained him in evasion when he was a kid. Ah Gaki you sure know how to cheer me up. Oi Ibiki I am not early am I? She asked. Yup you are early again Anko. He said as Anko blushed in embarrassment and Naruto snickered. Anko shushin straight to him and bonked him on the head. OWW what was that for Nei-chan? Naruto asked as he rubbed his head. The closeness shared by the two didn't go unnoticed by the room. As more than one girl had their eyes narrowed at Anko. The twins didn't like the idea of having a crazy snake lady as an older sister. Anko's dressing went against the Hyuga code which Hinata frowned upon. Sayuri looked aloof. She had become even more distant after she had confronted Naruto in the wave. Nowadays she remained stoic most of the time and the only person she talked to was Kakashi. Even Samui had narrowed her eyes at Anko but even she herself didn't know the reason why. It was an involuntary reflex, she needed to talk to a few people regarding this. That was for laughing at me you brat. Anko said with a grin. Naruto just smirked mischievously causing Anko to go on the defensive as he said, Now Nichan, maybe I should tell. He however was cut off when Anko slapped a hand on his mouth. She then looked around the room and awkwardly chuckled saying, It's nothing don't worry about it. Anko then glared at Naruto who gave her an innocent smile. After a few seconds her eyes softened up and she ruffled his hair affectionately before moving to the front of room and counting the number of teams. Turning to Ibiki with a shocked look on her face she said, Damn Ibiki, 28 teams you must be going soft. Not all we have a much better crop this year round. Ibiki replied. No matter by the time I am through with them they will be cut down by half. Anko said before turning to the genins. She then shouted and said, Alright maggots meet me at training ground 44 in 20 minutes. You will be disqualified if you get late. She said as she jumped out of the window. Naruto sighed before moving to his sisters. He then shushined the three of them near the genin meeting point. 20 minutes later all the genin had arrived and were awaiting the instructions. Suddenly Anko appeared and said, Welcome to the venue of the second part of the exam. It's my personal playground called the Forest of Death. She finished with a sadistic grin on her face that made most genin go white. Enjoying the look on the faces of the genins she said, All of you except you blonde points at Naruto, will be given either an Earth Scroll or a Heaven Scroll. To pass you need to collect both of them by the end of 5 days. You blonde will have to collect both of the scrolls. She finished making Naruto nod. Kiba in all his infinite wisdom decided to speak and say, Hey what's so special about this place it doesn't look like much. As soon as he finished a kunai grazed past his cheek making a cut appear on his cheek. Before he could react, Anko had a kunai on his neck and she said, "It's brats like you who die first." Suddenly she felt another presence behind her. Turning around she saw that it was a Kusa kunoichi. The kunoichi said, "I am here to return your kunai. Thank you, but don't you ever sneak up on me, I will kill you." Anko seriously replied. She then moved back to the front of the genin and called out, "All right people, come and sign these papers." "What are these?" Mito asked. "These my tomato are papers that state it's in no way Konoha's fault if any of you end up death. And let me warn you, if you are not careful in there you will die. There are human-eating plant along with animals bigger than anything you have ever seen. Of course you don't have to sign them, but you will be disqualified to take the exam." Anko gleefully answered. A few genin immediately left, not wanting to take the risk of death. Naruto calmly took his paper and signed it before closing his eyes. One thing he didn't know was that Samui was observing him. Unbeknownst to her, he had been attention to her as well. In both of their eyes they could be perfect partners. For Samui, Naruto was perfect. He was strong, good-hearted. If the way he interacted with people was anything to go by, he knew when to serious and when to be jolly. It was perfect. For Naruto, Samui was the ideal kunoichi. She was strong, had a calm and collected personality, and was beautiful beyond measure. Both of them hoped to get to know each other better in the future. Soon the genins left to go to their respective entry sites. As soon as the gates were opened, all the genin rushed inside, hence beginning the second part of the Chunin exams.